honey. How you like Rob's place?
I do. I like it a lot.
All right. Hey, Shirley.
Hiya. What do you have?
I think I have a grape soda.
Okay.
I think I like the special.
The special? She must be new in the neighborhood.
She is, Shirley.
Well, if you want to go old in this neighborhood, I suggest you have a hamburger.
Hey, hi.
Hi, Dwayne.
Hey, guess what?
You finally kissed Lisa Clark.
Much better than that.
It's about time.
It has nothing to do with Lisa.
What's the big news?
Can I use it in the school newspaper?
It's a front page story.
Well, Dwayne, what is it?
Try and guess. Hey.
Dwayne, this is Connie.
Connie, that's nice. What's your name? I'm Dwayne Nelson.
Dwayne.
You have a nice deep voice. Dwayne. Oh, there it goes again.
Hey, Dwayne.
Huh?
Look, you got a story? I want to know. What is it?
Hey, it's a big one, Marvin. Take one guess.
Hey, let me guess. Your dad's running for councilman.
Wow, Shirley, how'd you know my dad's running?
Lawrence Nelson for councilman. That's fantastic. Hey, everybody, Dwayne's dad is running for office. All right!
Say, how come you didn't tell us your father was planning to run?
Well, I didn't want to make a big thing out of it until it was definite. Besides, that's the way we do things in politics. But you'll be in on everything from now on, I promise.
You're something. I mean, your dad's running and you're the one making the promises?
What a clever observation.
Dwayne, you want anything?
Oh, no, Shirley, I just came to see if you put up some of these posters in the window for me.
Sure, no problem.
Okay.
Here, Shirley, I'll help you.
Okay.
Thanks.
I hope he wins.
Well, it's only the primary, but everybody says he has a good chance. He's running on his reputation as a fine leader in the community. You know, the kind of person you can look up to.
Almost as if he were your own father.
He is my own... Oh, a joke. Love it.
Well, it's a good picture. He's very handsome.
It runs in the family. You didn't tell me your name.
It's Connie.
Connie. That's nice. Connie what?
Connie Williams.
Connie Williams.
Williams. No S.
What happened to the S?
We never had one.
Oh. Well, my father has a lot of pull. Maybe he can get you one.
That'd be nice.
You two okay?
I'm okay, but she doesn't have an S.
Hey, Dwayne, you think I'll get a chance to talk to your father? You know, maybe an exclusive.
Are you crazy, Marvin? Why would my dad give a school newspaper an exclusive?
You get publicity wherever you can, son.
Does that mean I get an interview?
No, not right now, Marvin. Dwayne and I are late for dinner. Let's go, son.
Mr. Nelson, does that mean you're trying to duck the issues?
Duck this, Marvin.
All right, sure. I tell you what, Marvin. Next week, I have to make a speech at a banquet for the Chamber of Commerce. Now, Dwayne's going to be there. How'd you like to cover it?
Can I get in free?
Well, we can arrange that.
Hey, then you got a deal.
All right.
All right. See you later.
Oh, Dad, I almost forgot. This is my friend Diane.
Hello, Diane.
And Connie. I mean, she's a friend too, but she's new. You are a friend, aren't you?
Sure. Mm-hmm.
Hear that, Dad? She said, sure.
Hi, Mr. Nelson.
Hello, Connie.
Good luck on your campaign.
Thank you very much. You have good taste, son. We better be going.
Yeah, okay, just a second, Dad. Diane, how about you and Connie come to the banquet too?
Oh, I don't know.
Good,
Dwayne.
then just Connie. It's okay if Diane can't come, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. Who needs Diane?
I felt that way. See you.
Bye, Dwayne.
Hey, watch it, Romeo.
Oh, sorry, Shirley.
Nelson Campaign Headquarters. Sure, we can arrange it for a car on election day. Right. Thank you. Hi, Ted. Still here? No rest for the wicked. Say, how was the banquet? Terrific. Where is everybody?
Well, Larry had to shake some hands. He's right behind me.
Big Ted, my main man, how's it going?
Hey, fine, fine. Say, did you convince them to vote for you?
Convince me, Uncle Ted.
You were easy, Dwayne.
Yeah, well, I'm not easy, and he convinced me. That's because the man is good.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Nelson, one more shot, Mr. Nelson.
All right, all right.
Always glad to help the press, Marvin.
Hey, Lawrence,
Yeah, Ron.
may I see you for a moment, please?
Well, sure. Excuse me, everybody.
I didn't meet the young lady, Dwayne.
Oh, I'm sorry, Connie. This is Mr. Howard. Uncle Ted, this is Connie William, no S.
Hi.
Pleased to meet you.
Uncle Ted's been in politics for years and years.
Oh, you seem to be one of the family.
Almost. I used to change his diapers.
Uncle Ted?
Well, I did.
Well, maybe you did, but we don't have to discuss it in front of a stranger.
Dwayne, we all wore a diaper.
I don't want to hear anymore.
Mr. Howard, have you worked with a lot of other candidates?
Well, I've worked with the best, and I've worked with the worst.
Tell how you can tell the good ones from the bad ones.
Well, the bad ones usually win. Not this time, though.
So you think that Mr. Nelson has a good chance of winning?
Larry Nelson is the best candidate I ever worked for, and he's gonna win big.
All right.
Well, I think Mr. Nelson is very lucky to have you on his side.
Well, I hope he feels that way, because there's nothing I wouldn't do for him. You know, campaigns are hard work. But for Larry, I'm glad to be here 12, 14 hours a day.
You know, Dad said he's lucky to have men like Uncle Ted helping him. Loyal friends.
Ted, can I see you in my office a minute, please?
Sure, Larry.
Thank you.
Oh, Dad, Connie and I, we're gonna go down to the soda shop, okay?
Fine. Look, I've got some things to clear up around here. Glad you could come around, Connie.
I enjoyed it.
Have fun, you guys.
All right, later on.
I like your dad.
Yeah, I do too.
It's too bad I can't vote till next year.
You're 17?
Too old?
Nah, I feel older these days anyway. You know, when my father was in the Parks Department, I don't believe I was in his office more than 2 or 3 times. But now that he's running for office, I'm with him almost every day, helping him and giving him advice.
You two are a good team.
Want to join?
What do you mean?
Give me. You know, I never pinned nobody before.
I can see that you're old, Ted, but that's not my problem. I just want you out of here.
Where am I gonna get another job?
Look, there's no room in this campaign for that kind of sentiment. Now, this election is too important to me for anybody to be pulling me down. Now, get your things together and get out of here.
But Larry,
I said get out of here!
Hey, Shirley,
What you want?
is this your idea of rare?
Let me see. No, that's well done. Let me see yours. Now this is rare right here. This is rare. Hi, Connie.
Hi, Shirley.
Hi, Dwayne.
I'm sorry, Connie. I'm really sorry.
Dwayne, stop apologizing to me. You didn't do anything wrong.
Yeah, I know, but my dad did. You heard the way he yelled at Uncle Ted?
No, I really didn't hear it, Dwayne.
Why didn't you hear him? You were standing right next to me.
You were blowing in my ear.
I hope I didn't give you a cold or anything.
What are you two gonna have?
Grape soda, Connie.
No, thanks. Listen, I'd like to stay, but there's some shopping that I've got to do before the stores close. Dwayne, may I say something personal?
Sure, go on.
Why don't you have a little talk with your dad?
I don't know. He might get mad and fire me as his son. Yeah, later, Connie.
Hey, something happened between you and your father?
Yeah, I can't believe it. I mean, I just can't believe it. It's not like him. Do you realize I've known my father my whole life?
No kidding. Well, where did you meet him?
This isn't funny, Shirley.
Oh, I'm sorry. Look, if you and your father are having some kind of misunderstanding, you know Connie makes sense. You should talk to him.
How am I gonna talk to him?
The mouth, Dwayne, the mouth. So you start out with that, and if that doesn't work, you give it a shot with the hands. Father, something is wrong.
You don't. You just don't understand, Shirley.
Oh.
Hey!
Oh, shut your mouth, food. I'll give you nothing. Here, Dwayne, drink up, buddy.
Thanks, Shirley.
You want to tell me about it?
See, I saw my father do something terrible to somebody we all liked. He just yelled at him like he was nobody.
Well, maybe he had it coming. Hey, why don't you ask your dad?
I'm afraid he might get mad and yell at me, too.
Oh, come on, Dwayne. Give your dad a chance to tell his side of the story. Well?
You're right. Thanks, Shirley.
Shirley, what about my grape soda?
Oh, it's going to join your hamburger, honey.
Dwayne, back again?
Yeah, I just thought my dad might still be here.
Yes, he's on the phone in the office. Go right on in.
Oh, no, I don't want to interrupt him.
He's your father. Go on in. Listen, tell him I had to go home.
Yeah.
See you.
Okay, Ron, later on.
Oh, Dwayne.
Oh, hi.
Thought you and Connie left here a long time ago.
We did. I just came back.
You got a problem?
Sort of. See, earlier, when I was, with Connie, oh, this is tough.
Well, women are hard to understand, son. What happened? What'd she do?
She didn't do anything.
Well, it was your first date, wasn't it?
Dad, you don't understand.
Well, it can't be that much different these days, son.
Look, you probably got things to do.
Wait a minute. Hold it. Where you going? Now, you know I've always got time for you. You know, when I was about your age, I was crazy about this real gorgeous girl. I mean, she was a stomp-down fox. In fact, I think we took geometry. No, we took American. No, it was geometry.
Dad.
I know. Get to the good part. Well, you see, that's the point. There was no good part, son. We went to a drive-in movie.
Look, you don't have to tell me all of that. See, what I'm talking about is somebody doing something wrong just to get what you want.
You didn't.
Didn't what?
Son, why don't you start from the beginning?
Okay, well, you see, I had Connie up against that wall there.
In here?
Well, Dad, you were in there and we were out here. What's wrong with that?
Where is Connie now?
Dad, you don't understand. This has nothing to do with Connie.
Whoa. Well, then what we have here is a problem in communication.
Yeah, I go along with that. See, there's no problem between Connie and I. One kissing and that was it. But, we were in here with our Uncle Ted.
Oh, yeah. By the way, about Uncle Ted.
Yeah.
Well, he won't be around here much anymore.
Oh?
No, he got himself a better job offer. Well, you know, he left me in the middle of a campaign, but we've known him a long time. We couldn't hold him back, right?
Yeah, right. You mean he quit, huh?
Yeah, he quit. Oh, Dwayne. Did you want to ask me something?
Nah, you answered it.
Come on in, Dwayne.
Hi, Miss Thomas.
Hi, baby.
Roger in his room?
Oh, no, honey, he isn't. He left here early to pass out leaflets for your father's campaign.
It's too bad.
Too bad.
Oh, I mean, it's too bad that Roger isn't home.
Well, is there something I can do?
No, I can handle it.
Dwayne, is something wrong?
I don't want to bother you.
Hey, you're not bothering me.
Yes, I am. I'm coming here bothering you with my problems. And you're probably bothered by your own.
I don't have any problems, and you're not bothering me.
Yes, I am. I'm just a dumb kid, and I'm bothering everybody.
You're not a dumb kid. Now tell me about it.
I don't want to bother you.
Dwayne, you're beginning to bother me.
I'm sorry.
Now, Did you discuss this problem with your mother yet?
Oh, no, Miss Thomas, I can't. I mean, it's about my father, and he's a husband. And you can't complain to a wife who's your mother about your father who's a husband. Or to a husband who's a father about a wife who's a mother, right?
What?
I was afraid you was going to say that.
Look, are you going to tell me it's wrong or not?
See, Miss Thomas, I heard my father fire my Uncle Ted.
You guys are doing a good job. Thank you. Ron, be sure everybody has a copy of the new schedule, will you?
Right.
Is Dwayne in yet?
Haven't seen him.
Well, I'd tell you what, he left the house a little early this morning. When he gets in, let me know.
Sure.
I'll be in my office working on my speech.
You know, it's great working here. I'm really into politics.
Good.
Well, the envelopes are stamped, sealed, and ready to go.
Good.
Well, what can I do next?
Stuff him. You forgot to put the mailings inside.
Hello.
Can I help you?
Yes, is Larry Nelson in?
Yes, he's in his office, but he's very busy.
Well, I'd like to see him about something very important. It'll only take a few minutes.
I told you, lady, he's a busy man. He's got a campaign to run.
Yes.
He can't be interrupted, so you can't go in there.
Are you gonna stop me?
No, ma'am. Right this way.
Thank you.
Hey, Shirley, what about my change?
Change? Sure, you gave me $3. The bill was $2.95, and you want change? Here, take the thing back. Here. What are you gonna have, Dwayne?
I don't care.
I know you don't care. You eating here?
Give me a grape soda.
Okay.
Hello, Shirley.
Oh, hi, Mr. Nelson. Can I get you anything?
Yeah, I'll have a grape soda, too, please.
Like father, like son, huh?
Make mine root beer. How come you're here?
Well, son, I thought we should discuss some of the things that are bothering you.
Ain't nothing bothering me.
Not according to Mrs. Thomas.
Oh, you talked to her?
Yes, I did. Now, would you like to tell me about it in your own words?
You see, I was standing behind the door when you fired Uncle Ted. I mean, I saw the whole thing and it was terrible. And then you lied to me and told me he quit.
You're right, son.
I mean, I'm right.
Everything you just said. It was terrible that I had to fire him, and I did lie to you.
Huh? But why, Dad? Why lie to me?
Because I didn't want you to think badly about Ted. I know how much you like him.
Well, you liked him. Did you have to fire him like that?
Yes, I did. He stole. He stole campaign funds.
Oh, no, he didn't. He wouldn't.
He did. Ron caught him, and Ted admitted it.
Well, you couldn't have forgiven him?
No, I couldn't, son. You see, I could have forgiven him for me, but the money he stole wasn't mine. It was donated by all the people in this district believing in me and who believed that the money would be handled honestly. What would you have done?
I'd drop that sucker.
Thank you, Shirley.
Look, Dad, I'm sorry. I guess I should have come and asked you about it from the start.
Well, I tell you what, son. Next time you will. You keep the old man honest, right? Tell you what, I got a great idea. Why don't we go pick up your mother? We'll go down to headquarters and wait for the results.
All right, I'm with you all the way.
All right.
Who knows, after this one, who knows what could be next? I mean, you could become the President of the United States. Mom would be the First Lady, and I could be Amy.
What is taking so long?
The special machine that counts the votes broke down.
I noticed that only happens on Election Day.
Hey, Dwayne, if your father wins, do you think you'll change?
No, I'd just be the son of a councilman. It's no big deal.
Oh, Dwayne, what do you mean, no big deal? You'll be famous. I mean, everywhere you go, you'd have a policeman following you.
If that's true, this neighborhood is loaded with famous people.
Hey, everybody, quiet. Large, Mrs. Nelson, come out, please. They're giving the result.
And that's with 88% of the precincts reporting. Here are some final results from the 16th district. Bail bondsman Bernard Polini was trounced by school board member Lawrence Nelson.
All right, everybody. 3 cheers for Councilman Nelson, my dad. Hip, hip. Hooray! Hip, hip. Hooray! Everybody on to the victory party. Okay.
I'll see you later.
All right, Ron. Thank you, Ed.
I thought they'd never leave. Hey, Shirley. Is Connie here? I said, hey, Shirley. Shirley, what's wrong? Like you just lost your best friend.
It's worse than that, Dwayne. This is a big problem, you know. It's so big, I don't even want to talk about it.
Well, if you can't talk to your friends, who can you talk to?
Well, I don't know. See, this is just not a problem. This is a problem, a biggie. You know what I'm talking about?
Hey, I know what you're talking about. Well, sit down and tell me about it.
I'm sitting down.
Oh, right. Anyway, now look, Shirley, whatever it is that's bothering you, the best thing for you to do is just tell somebody.
Well, all right, you see...
I mean, just summon up all your courage, no matter how painful it is, and give a voice to whatever's bothering you.
Okay.
I mean, just let your troubles flow. Open up your heart, Shirley. Just...
Dwayne, if you don't shut up, I'm going to open up your head. Now, just let me tell you what's bothering you.
Okay.
Well, see, here's the situation. See, now suppose that you like somebody. No. Let's say you love someone, see. But then all of a sudden, this other person decides they love someone else. Do you get my drift, you know?
I think I understand.
Okay.
Well, Shirley, whatever happens, it's not the end of the world. Believe me, it's not really that bad.
Well, even if this person just ups and leaves, even without a goodbye kiss.
Shirley, we're young. We can bounce back. I mean, believe me, it's not that bad.
Well, now, even if they just up and walk out of your life, and leave you this cold, man, this cold, heartless, no.
Oh, Shirley, there'll be other people. Believe me, it's not that bad.
Boy, I'm glad you feel that way, Dwayne. See, just before you came in, Connie came by with this fine young man. And she left you this cold, man, heartless note. Look here.
It is that bad. Oh, no, how could she do this to me? There'll never be anybody else. It's the end of the world. I didn't even get a goodbye kiss.
Hey, wait, look at that part right there, see?
I see.
Mean it, Mama. I've had it. Now, I'm not a kid anymore. I don't need you to tell me what I can do or what I can't do. Now, you messed up your life, but you're not gonna mess up mine. How you like my scene, Mama? Wasn't that great?
It's good, son. It's darn good writing. Go ahead, finish it.
All right, now this is the last speech just before the curtain.
Write it?
Yeah. All right. All right, that did it. Now, you don't want to take me seriously, so I'm leaving. But before I go, let me tell you one thing. I tried to be a good son. I really did, Mama, but you didn't want a son. You wanted a slave. That's right, Mama, a slave. You wanted me to do what you told me, when you told me, and how you told me. And don't look at me like I'm crazy, because I'm not crazy. I just don't want to be your slave. I'm not crazy. I'm not crazy. I'm not crazy. I'm not crazy.
Raj, you're crazy, man.
We got him, Mrs. Thomas.
Will you guys let me go?
Yeah, Miss Thomas, tell me he doesn't have to be a slave.
Easy, Kunta, easy. Wait a minute, fellas. Let him go. Let him go. He's just acting out a scene he wrote.
Oh, wow. What a great actor, Raj.
Yeah, you sure had me fooled. I really thought you were crazy. I mean, how are we supposed to know? We came along and saw you screaming at your mother.
Rerun.
Yeah?
Either kiss me or let me go.
Rod, is that the scene from Miss Collins' class?
Of course. Did you boys write one too?
See, the class covers all kinds of theater art, so I'm gonna sing something.
Hey, that's wonderful. What are you gonna sing?
Hey, hey, hey.
How does that go?
You are the sunshine of my life. Hey, hey, hey.
That's nice. Dwayne, your singing is driving me right into the other room. The kitchen. Rerun. Don't look now, but he's in for a big disappointment. I'm defrosting the refrigerator, and I put all the food in the pantry, and he won't find a bite. You've been hit. Rerun. It's awful. You should see it. This huge white box just sitting there with nothing in it.
Rerun.
They left nothing. Oh, rerun, I'm defrosting the refrigerator. Wait here, and I'll see if I can scrape up a couple of Twinkies for you. Thanks, Mrs. Thomas. Don't mention it. Sorry I got so upset. It's just that I missed my lunch today.
Why didn't you have lunch?
I did, but the second it was gone, I missed it.
Rerun, what are you doing for the theater arts class?
Well,
You didn't prepare anything, right?
right.
You're gonna get another F, Rerun.
I know it, and I'm sick of it, too. Do you know what it's like to see a report card full of Fs?
No.
You start thinking every subject ends in F. Like history, biology, chemistry, and algebra. I'm not even good in gym.
Rod, why don't you let Rerun play that part in your scene? You'll get an A for writing it, and his project can be acting in it.
Hey, Raj, that'll do it. Great idea, Dwayne.
I don't know, Rerun.
I won't mess it up, Raj. I promise. I'm a good actor. Just give me a chance. Here you go, fellas. Here are the Twinkies. Hold it. You want acting? I'll show you acting. Ooh, stay back, you. Ooh, you dirty rats. Don't you put your pinkies on my Twinkies. Stand back, or I'll cream ya.
Shakespeare's theater was called the Globe Theater. And speaking of globes, Frederick... Frederick, can you name 5 plays that were written by William Shakespeare?
Romeo and Juliet.
Good.
That's 2.
That's 1.
That's right. Macbeth.
That's 2.
How about the one where the guy talked to his father's ghost in the castle?
Hamlet.
That's 3.
No, Frederick. That's 2. I gave you Hamlet.
Thank you.
Sit down, Frederick.
So all he wrote was 3 plays? What's the big deal?
Dwayne?
Huh?
How many plays did Shakespeare write?
Let's see.
3.
Let's see.
3. 3.
Frederick, Shakespeare wrote 37 plays.
37.
Frederick?
Yes, Mrs. Collins?
Roger tells me that you're going to be acting in his scene.
Yeah, I play the crazy slave.
Well, I hope you learn the part, Frederick, because you have an F average and you're going to need an A in this one in order to pass the course.
Don't worry, Miss Collins. I'll learn it and I'll be good.
All right.
See you later.
Oh, Roger, may I speak to you for a minute? Roger, I thought you might be interested in knowing that the producer of Happy Times, the TV show, is an old friend of mine, and he's agreed to come down here and see the class projects.
No kidding. That's terrific.
And if he likes your scene, who knows? It might be a chance to write for Happy Times.
All right. Wow, Miss Collins, thanks a lot. Thank you. You're terrific. That's a show about a black family. I know a lot about black people. I was raised by a black family.
Roger, calm down.
No, I'm calm. I'm cute. I'm cute as a cuckoo.
It's gonna be terrific. See, for the beginning, I'm gonna do this. See? And then for the high part, I'm gonna do this. See? And then for the low part, I'm gonna do like this. Get back. Get back. Jam. See? And then for the finish, I'm gonna do this spin. And then if they really like it, I'll wrap it up with an encore.
If they like it, you should wrap them up with a straitjacket.
That's vicious.
Hey, Dwayne.
Hey, Raj.
Sorry I'm late. We were rehearsing.
Well, how's Rerun coming along with the play?
Not perfect.
Well, can he act?
Rerun, fat chance.
Will you mind your own business? No, the truth is, he has a lot of talent, Dwayne. It just has to be developed. You know, he needs the proper guidance, a little nurturing. He's more like a diamond in the rough.
That bad, huh?
I wouldn't say he was bad.
He stinks.
That's what I would say.
Hey, what's happening?
Hey, Rerun.
There he is, the great actor, Sidney Portley.
D, with light through yonder window breaks. It is the east, and you are the sun.
And you are the moon.
D.
The full moon.
Enough, now knock it off.
You guys are gonna be proud of me. I learned to sing. Wait till you hear this. Ooh, ooh, that's right, Mama. Ooh, ooh, you wanted me to be your slave? Ooh, you wanted me to do what you told me, when you told me, and how you told me. Ooh, don't look at me like I'm crazy. I'm not crazy. I just don't want to be your slave. Ooh, don't look at me like I'm crazy. I'm not crazy. I'm not crazy. I'm not crazy.
I know you're lousy.
That's because I'm hungry.
What about rehearsal?
Haven't you ever heard of starving artists?
Wow, he is bad.
Yeah, and there's a TV producer come over to see my scene, Dwayne. He's gonna blow my chances. My 1 in a million shot, my big break, and Rerun's gonna blow it for me.
Well, what are you gonna do, Raj? You can't replace him.
I don't know. He's counting on the mark. If I replace him now, he'll get an F in theater arts. Then I'll get an F in friendship.
You're willing to blow your big chance at impressing a television producer and maybe even getting a job in TV and making a fortune and becoming famous, all for the sake of a friend.
Well, we're never that close.
Here you go, Rerun.
Thanks, Shirley. Hey, Shirley, this is a 3-minute egg. I ordered a 5-minute egg.
So don't eat it for 2 minutes.
I'm not hungry. Take it back.
Oh, I can't do that. I have no idea where that chicken is.
Look, Shirley, I'm upset.
Oh, yeah. Your upset stomach.
Watch it, Shirley. I don't need your big mouth.
Well, then how would you like my little hand up against your ear?
Come on, Shirley, I got a problem.
Well, when Raj and Dwayne come, they'll cheer you up.
No, they won't. Roger's the problem.
What'd he do?
He kicked me out of the play.
Why?
He said I couldn't act my way out of a hefty bag.
That's too bad. What do you want for dessert?
You don't care anything about me at all.
I'm a waitress, Rerun, not a nurse. Now, you want food, you come here. You want care? Check into the County Journal.
Hi.
Oh, hi, guys.
What's happening, Shirley? Hey, Rerun.
Hello, Dwayne.
Hi, Rerun.
Hello, Dwayne.
Hello, Rerun.
Hi, Rerun.
Hello, Dwayne.
Hello, Rerun.
Oh, what do you guys want?
I want an orange soda, bring Dwayne a grape soda, and give him a separate table.
Got it.
Rerun, I know how you must feel, but that was the only thing I could do.
A friend does not kick you out of his play and make you get an F in drama.
Look, put yourself in my shoes, Rerun.
Raj, that's your favorite pair of shoes.
Will you shut up?
All right, Raj, I guess you're right. I'll just get an F and you'll get an A. Nobody cares about me anyway.
Rerun, there's a producer from Happy Times gonna be there.
I know it would be hard for you, but if I fail, it may be the end for me. We're friends, remember?
Yeah, I remember.
Well,
You're back in the play.
Raj, thanks. I mean it.
Hey, girls, gather round. Listen to what I'm putting down. Hey, baby, I'm your handyman. I'm not the kind to use a pencil or rule. I'm handy with the slogan, I'm no fool. I fix a broken heart, I know I really can. If your broken heart needs repair, then I'm the man to see. I whisper sweet things, tell all your friends, they'll come running to me. Here is the main thing I got to say. I'm busy 24 hours a day. I fix broken heart, I know I really can. Get back! Karma, 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 karma. They'll come running to me. Here is the main thing I got to say. I'm busy 24 hours a day. Fix broken hearts, I know I really can. Karma, 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 karma. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Karma, 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 karma. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Karma, 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 karma. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Thank you, Dwayne. Thank you very much. Thank you. Mr. Michaels, would you like to make a comment?
Hey, I thought it was terrific. You know, there are a lot of ways to go with that song, and he took them all. Nice job, Don.
Thank you. Now, class, do we have any comments on Dwayne's performance? I think I should remind you that part of your marks are based on criticism of performance. Now, if you want to improve your marks, I suggest you express an opinion. Now. Yes, Frederick?
I felt that Dwayne sang a song.
Would you care to expand on your criticism, Frederick?
Well, yes. I felt that he was very good and very creative. And he put certain notes in that no one ever thought to use before. But he was good.
Thank you. And now, class, an original play, a scene from the life of a teenager, featuring Frederick Stubbs as our leading actor, Diane Harris as his co-lead, and written and directed by our very own Roger Thomas.
Okay, actors, take your places. Mr. Michaels, you're gonna love this. Can I call you Ron?
Sure, you can call me Ron, but my name's Paul.
I'm sorry.
Come on, Roger, let's go.
Oh, right. And action.
Hello, Mama. I'm home.
How was school today, son?
Not bad, but I flunked my math.
Oh, you flunked another test?
Yeah, that's right, Mama.
Why?
Because I'm sick of school and I'm quitting. I'm not a kid anymore.
Not yet.
I'm not a kid anymore, not yet.
It's not that line yet.
It's not that line yet. Gee, Raj, I don't remember that.
You don't say I'm not a kid anymore yet. That's the next line.
Oh, yeah, right.
Oh, Miss Collins, can we go back a little?
Hey, let's start from where I kissed Mama.
Rerun. Mr. Michaels, it's a good play, really. It just has a few rough spots.
Roger, why don't we start from Diane's last line? Diane?
Oh, Miss Collins, I don't think I should have to do this with Rerun. He's just gonna ruin my chances of getting an A.
How would you like me to ruin your chances of getting home?
Oh, yeah, you
Stop
just...
it. That's enough. Now just do the scene. You'll be judged on your own work, Diane, and he'll be judged on his. Now, Roger, where do you want them to pick up from?
Rerun, take it from you're sick of school and you're quitting.
You're sick of school and you're quitting.
I'm quitting! I'm quitting!
Not now, Roz. This is your big chance. He's the producer of Happy Times.
Just a minute, class. Settle down. Now, I know we're all sorry we didn't see the finish of Roger's play. And I think we ought to thank Mr. Michaels for taking time from his busy schedule to come and visit with us.
Right on.
That will be all for today. Roger, may I speak to you for a minute? Roger, I want you to know that despite what happened, I thought your writing and directing was very good.
Oh, thank you, Miss Collins. What about Rerun?
He was terrible.
No, he wasn't. He did it exactly as I directed him.
So please give Roger a chance to write for Happy Times, Mr. Michaels. He's a great writer.
It's really nice of you to want to stick up for your friend.
I mean, I'm the one that spoiled it. I'm a lousy actor.
Oh, that may be true. In fact, that is true.
Oh, really, Roger? I know you're a good friend of his, but he made a lot of mistakes.
Mistakes? No, that was our device. We were creating the theater of reality. He did the lines just as I wrote them. And I even played a part.
You did?
Sure. And you thought Rerun was making mistakes?
Wasn't he?
Of course not. And I call that pretty good acting if he could fool you.
Wonderful acting.
And pretty good writing, if I have to say so myself.
Excellent writing.
Almost brilliant.
Almost.
Between you and me, he may be an okay writer for high school, but he'll never be good enough to write for Happy Times.
Are you kidding? Not good enough to write for Happy Times? I didn't know they wrote that show. I thought they made it up as they went along. I wouldn't let Raj waste his time on that junk.
Relax. What do we get?
Oh. Well, you'll both get exactly what you deserve.
That's not fair.
A's. You both get A's.
Is that all?
Listen, I gotta run now, but call me sometime. We'll have lunch.
Mr. Michaels!
Where's Mr. Michaels? I want to talk to him.
He had to run.
But he didn't even say what he thought of my scene.
But he did say something.
What'd he say?
He said he thought your scene was great. And he thought your writing was fantastic.
Oh, congratulations, Roger.
Thank you.
I guess Mr. Michaels really understood what you and Frederick were trying to do in the theater of reality.
The what of what?
There he goes again. Great, great.
Frederick, both you and Roger will be getting A's.
I'm getting an A? I must be dreaming. No, I must be crazy.
You're not crazy. You got an A.
Oh, I'm not crazy. I'm not crazy. Goodbye, Miss Collins. Goodbye, Raj. Hello, Hollywood.
You know what I'm talking about? You see, I want to be remembered for my writing. I want something that I wrote to be read after I'm gone.
You mean like your will?
No, Dwayne, I'm talking about classic love stories. You know, like Anthony and Cleopatra, Napoleon and Josephine.
Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs.
You don't understand. Read this, Rerun. It's a classic love story about Christopher Columbus and Queen Isabella.
This is great, Raj. Raj,
I didn't know that Christopher Columbus and Queen Isabella had a thing.
Neither did the king. But why do you think she gave him 3 ships and sent him to the end of the world? Hi, Mama.
Hello, Queen Isabella. Thank you for the ships.
What is wrong with you?
He's acting.
Oh.
Like a fool.
Dean.
It was great, Mrs. Thomas. Raj got an A for writing and directing. Rerun got an A for acting, and I got an A for singing.
Well, I think that's great. 3 A's, huh?
Mm-hmm. Well, as long as you're the triple A, why don't you get a tow truck to pick up reruns?
Now, you stop that, Dean. Hey, I think you fellas should be proud of yourselves.
We are, Mama.
We're going to have a big future in the theater of reality.
What's that?
Oh, the theater of reality is when you get people to believe in you and not know you're acting.
Oh, I get it. So you were doing the theater of reality the other night.
When was that?
It's not important.
You remember the other night when Mom asked you if you had a girl over and you said no and she believed you? Remember?
See, anybody can do it. Let's go.
Roger, you're not leaving this house.
Anger, fantastic.
Roger.
Calling, brilliant.
Roger, you get back here.
Directing, great.
And you. Don't you go through my...
In the soft, half-forgotten glow of late 1980s Los Angeles, when sitcom laughter still felt like a shared national breath and the aftershocks of youth carried into adulthood with both humor and quiet regret, What's Happening Now opens its world again, not as a simple continuation but as a reflective chamber where memory, compromise, and the stubborn echo of dreams collide. And in this imagined retelling the episode, the place The Big Thing becomes less a comedy of misunderstandings and more a miniature novel about people who once believed life would unfold according to a clear script and now find themselves improvising every line. Roger Roach Thomas still walks with that familiar mixture of swagger and insecurity, his body older, heavier, but his mind constantly time-traveling back to moments when potential felt infinite and laughter was armor. And as the story begins, he is staring at a flyer taped crookedly to the wall of the Shirley Wilson College Alumni Center, announcing an amateur stage production written by a young playwright who believes theater can still tell the truth in a city built on illusions, and Roach scoffs out loud, partly because the wordplay sounds too precious, too impractical, and partly because it awakens a buried longing he refuses to name, a longing that whispers of applause not for jokes tossed across a lunch table but for something crafted, rehearsed, and meaningful, while Dwayne Nelson, forever the rational counterweight, stands beside him. Adjusting his glasses and reading the flyer with genuine interest, seeing in it not nostalgia but structure, the promise of order and achievement that adult life so often withholds, and it is Dwayne who suggests, almost casually, that Roach should audition, a suggestion that lands like a challenge disguised as encouragement, igniting Roger's defensiveness and his curiosity at the same time, because Roach has always wanted to be seen, not merely heard, and the idea of a stage where people must listen unsettles him more than he wants to admit, as Shirley, now balancing administrative responsibilities with the emotional labor of being everyone's moral center, watches the two men banter and senses immediately that something fragile is stirring beneath the jokes, something that connects them not just to each other but to the young people they once were. Those kids who argued about concerts and crushes and believed adulthood was a reward rather than a negotiation, and Shirley remembers how laughter once stitched them together during moments of real fear, like unpaid bills or broken families, and she wonders whether this play might unravel those stitches or tighten them, because art has a way of exposing seams, and as Roach finally rips the flyer down with exaggerated bravado, declaring that theater is for people who can't handle real life, the line rings hollow even to his own ears, especially when he notices the name of the play scribbled at the bottom, The Play's The Big Thing. A title so self-aware and earnest that it mocks his cynicism, and later that evening, alone in his apartment with the television murmuring reruns of his own past, Roach rereads the flyer from the trash, smoothing its creases like a man handling a fragile confession, while memories intrude uninvited, memories of standing on school stages reciting lines badly, Of laughter that came not from punchlines but from vulnerability, and he imagines, briefly, a life where his voice carried weight beyond a room full of friends, a dangerous thought he quickly smothers with humor, yet it returns the next day when he accompanies Dwayne to the audition just to watch, as he insists, and the rehearsal hall smells of dust, ambition, and cheap coffee, populated by hopeful strangers who wear their insecurity openly, unlike Roach, who hides his behind jokes sharpened by years of use, and as the playwright, a nervous woman barely half his age, explains that her play is about ordinary people confronting the gap between who they thought they would become and who they actually are. Roach feels an uncomfortable tightening in his chest, because the theme feels less like fiction and more like a personal accusation, and when Dwayne reads his audition sites with careful precision, his voice control and sincere, Roach is surprised by a flicker of envy, realizing that Dwayne has always been willing to try, even at the risk of failure, while Roach has preferred the safety of commentary, the sidelines where laughter shields him from judgment, and the moment comes unexpectedly when the director, misreading Roger's presence as confidence, hands him a script and asks him to read a role intended as comic relief, and the room quiets, and Roach, caught between instinct and fear, performs, his voice initially sarcastic, then gradually softening as the lines resonate, and for a brief, electric moment, he forgets the audience, forgets his armor, and simply speaks. And the silence afterward is not mocking but attentive, a silence Roach has never fully trusted, and the director smiles, not broadly, but with interest, telling Roach to come back tomorrow, and this small validation unsettles him more than rejection ever could, because it suggests possibility, and possibility demands choice, and when Shirley later hears about the audition, she senses the crossroads forming, knowing Roach well enough to predict his self-sabotage, yet hoping quietly that this time he might surprise them all, including himself, and as rehearsals begin in earnest, the play becomes a mirror that reflects not only Roger's latent talent but the unspoken tensions within the group, as Dwayne's methodical approach clashes with Roger's improvisational instincts, echoing their lifelong dynamic of order versus chaos, while Shirley, observing from the wings, recognizes that the real drama is not scripted but unfolding in their reactions to one another, as old jokes resurface to mask new fears, and Roach, struggling to memorize lines, begins to resent the discipline the play demands, resenting the way it refuses to bend to his timing, forcing him instead to adapt, to listen, to share space, and this resentment culminates one night when, after a difficult rehearsal, he explodes into humor so sharp it cuts, mocking the play, the process, and himself, only to be confronted by the playwright, who calmly tells him that comedy is not an escape from truth but one of its sharpest forms, and her words linger, stripping Roach of his usual rebuttal, because deep down he knows she is right, knows that laughter without honesty is just noise, and as opening night approaches, the group dynamic tightens, nerves fray, and the play's themes bleed into their lives, forcing Roach to confront the uncomfortable realization that while time has aged them all, he alone has been resisting growth by pretending that adulthood is something happening to other people, and the stage, with its unforgiving lights and memorized lines, demands presence, accountability, and courage, qualities Roach has always possessed in fragments but never fully assembled, and in the quiet before the dress rehearsal, as he stands onstage staring into an empty house, Roach feels something close to fear and something closer still to hope, sensing that this play is not merely a performance but an invitation, perhaps his last, to step fully into a version of himself that is no longer protected by punchlines alone, and as the lights dim and the first line is spoken, the past and present converge, setting in motion a reckoning that will test friendships, expose buried regrets, and ask a deceptively simple question that echoes beyond the stage: what happens now when the laughter fades and the play becomes real? The morning after the dress rehearsal arrives with an uneasiness that settles into Roger's bones before he even opens his eyes, a dull pressure that reminds him of final exams he pretended not to study for and job interviews he claimed not to want, because the closer opening night creeps, the harder it becomes to maintain the illusion that this play is a joke he can abandon at will. And as he lies in bed listening to the city wake up, sirens fading into traffic hum, he realizes that the anxiety gripping him is not about forgetting lines or missing cues but about being seen clearly, without the familiar buffer of irony, and this realization irritates him enough to push himself out of bed and into the shower, where steam fogs the mirror and briefly spares him from his own reflection, though even there the echoes of rehearsal replay in his mind, the director's patient but firm corrections, Dwayne's calm competence, Shirley's watchful silence, all combining into a chorus reminding him that this endeavor demands sincerity, and sincerity has always been the one role Roch fears he might not convincingly perform, yet when he arrives at the theater later that afternoon, script tucked under his arm like a talisman, he is surprised to feel a flicker of pride, a sense that showing up at all is a minor victory, and the rehearsal space buzzes with nervous energy, actors pacing, stretching, muttering lines, while the playwright hovers near the back, her expression a mixture of hope and terror, and Roch notices how young she looks today, how fragile the dream she has placed in their hands seems, and for the first time he considers the weight of responsibility that comes with participation, the understanding that mockery, his usual reflex, could wound not just himself but others, and this awareness unsettles him more deeply than any critique ever has. As the run-through begins and scenes unfold with varying degrees of polish, Roch feels himself oscillate between confidence and panic, moments where the lines flow effortlessly followed by sudden blank spaces where his mind goes white, and in those moments he improvises instinctively, landing jokes that draw laughter but earn a sharp look from the director, who reminds him that the rhythm of the play is a shared contract, not a solo act, and Roch bristles at this, his old resentment flaring, because he has always believed that spontaneity is his strength, the thing that makes him irreplaceable, yet he cannot deny that. When he sticks to the script, something deeper emerges, something less flashy but more resonant, and this tension comes to a head during a quiet scene where his character confronts the reality of unfulfilled ambition, a scene Roch has been skirting emotionally, playing for laughs, until the director stops rehearsal and asks him, gently but firmly, to try it without humor, and the request lands like a dare, stripping away his armor, and when Roch resists with a joke, the room remains silent, not amused, and in that silence he feels exposed, compelled to comply, and so he speaks the lines plainly, his voice rough, and as the words leave his mouth he realizes they mirror his own internal monologue, the regrets he has never articulated, and for a brief, terrifying moment, his voice cracks, the mask slips, and the room holds its breath, not in judgment but in recognition, and when the scene ends, no one claps, but the director nods, satisfied, and Roch looks away, embarrassed by the rawness he has revealed, yet oddly lighter, as if a long-held tension has loosened, and afterward Dwayne approaches him quietly, offering no commentary, just a simple acknowledgement that the scene worked, and this understated support means more to Roch than any applause ever has, because it comes without competition, without comparison, and later, as Shirley joins them for coffee, she observes the subtle shift in Roger's demeanor, the way his jokes land softer, less defensive, and she wonders whether the play is doing what years of friendship could not, nudging him toward a version of himself that accepts vulnerability as strength rather than weakness, and as opening night looms closer, practical concerns intrude, ticket sales lagging, technical issues cropping up, stress fraying tempers, and Roch finds himself unexpectedly invested, suggesting promotional ideas, volunteering for tasks, actions that surprise even him, because they signal commitment, and this commitment triggers fear. The old instinct to sabotage before attachment leads to disappointment, manifesting in sarcastic remarks and mockery that nearly derail a rehearsal, prompting a confrontation with the director who bluntly tells Roch that if he cannot respect the work, he should walk away, and this ultimatum rattles him, because walking away has always been his escape hatch, yet now the thought fills him with an unfamiliar ache, and he leaves the theater that night restless, wandering the city streets, replaying the director's words, the scene without humor, The silence that followed, and he realizes that the ache he feels is grief, not for the play but for all the moments he chose laughter over honesty, safety over risk, and this realization is both painful and clarifying, because it frames his life not as a series of missed opportunities inflicted by circumstance but as choices made to avoid discomfort, and by the time opening night arrives, Roach is exhausted, emotionally wrung out, yet strangely calm, as if acceptance has replaced resistance, and backstage the cast gathers, nerves palpable, the playwright clutching her notes like a lifeline, and Roach catches his reflection in a cracked mirror, seeing not the swaggering joker of his youth but a middle-aged man standing on the brink of something uncertain, and instead of cracking a joke, he breathes, grounding himself in the present, and when the lights dim and the curtain rises, the audience a blur beyond the glare, Roach steps into his role with a focus he has rarely known, delivering lines with intention, resisting the urge to embellish, trusting the material and his fellow actors, and as scenes unfold, laughter comes at the right moments, but it is softer, layered with recognition, and in the quiet scenes, the audience leans in, attentive, and Roach senses a connection forming, fragile but real, and midway through the play, during the pivotal confrontation scene, he feels the familiar urge to deflect, to soften the blow with humor, but he resists, allowing the silence to stretch, allowing the discomfort to breathe, and in that moment, he understands that the play is not demanding perfection but presence, and presence is something he can offer, and when the final lines are spoken and the lights fade, the applause that follows is not thunderous but sincere, a sound that feels earned rather than automatic, and as the cast takes their bows, Roach feels a swell of emotion he does not immediately recognize, a mixture of relief, pride, and sorrow, because the applause signifies an ending as much as an achievement, and backstage, amid hugs and congratulations, he catches the playwright's eye, sees gratitude there, and realizes that his participation mattered beyond his own journey, and later, as the theater empties and the group gathers in the quiet aftermath, Dwayne and Shirley flanking him, Roach reflects on the strange alchemy of the experience, how a simple amateur play forced him to confront truths he had long avoided, and though he does not articulate these thoughts aloud, the shift is evident in his demeanor, the way he listens more than he speaks, the way his jokes, when they come, feel less like shields and more like gifts, and as they step out into the cool night air, the city humming indifferently around them, Roach wonders what comes next, knowing that the play may be over but the reckoning it sparked is just beginning, and that question, hovering unanswered, feels less like a threat and more like an invitation, one he is not yet ready to decline. The days following the final performance unfold with an unexpected hollowness for Roach, a quiet that seeps into his routine and lingers like the echo of applause long after the audience has gone home, because the play, which once consumed his thoughts with anxiety and resistance, has abruptly vanished, leaving behind not relief but a subtle sense of loss, and this surprises him more than anything else, as he had always assumed that once the pressure lifted he would revert easily to his familiar rhythms, the casual jokes, the emotional distance, the comfort of not caring too deeply, yet instead he finds himself restless, replaying moments from the stage in his mind, the way silence felt heavier than laughter, the way speaking honestly demanded more energy but yielded something richer, and this restlessness follows him into his workdays, where conversations feel flatter, predictable, and Roach catches himself listening differently, noticing the pauses between words, the things left unsaid. And this heightened awareness unsettles him because it strips away the insulation he once relied on, making ordinary interactions feel strangely exposed, and when Dwayne invites him to grab lunch, Roach accepts without his usual theatrics, and over sandwiches in a sunlit cafe, Dwayne speaks about the play not in terms of performance but process, noting how the discipline of rehearsal reminded him of earlier ambitions, paths he abandoned in favor of stability, and Roach listens, surprised by the vulnerability in Dwayne's voice, realizing that while he often casts himself as the one afraid of commitment, Dwayne, too, has made compromises, and this mutual recognition creates a quiet intimacy that neither of them names, but it shifts the dynamic of their friendship, subtly leveling the ground between them, and Shirley, joining them later, remarks on the change she senses. How the play seems to have stirred something dormant in all of them, not just Roch, and she speaks candidly about her own regrets, the ways caretaking roles can eclipse personal desires, and Roch feels a strange mixture of guilt and gratitude. Guilt for having taken her emotional labor for granted, gratitude that she trusts him enough to reveal her own doubts, and as they part ways, Roch carries these conversations with him, aware that the play has cracked open not only his own defenses but those of his closest friends, creating a shared vulnerability that demands careful handling, because once exposed, such truths cannot easily be tucked away again, and this awareness follows him to the theater a week later, where the playwright has invited the cast to a small post-mortem gathering, a chance to reflect on the experience, and Roch approaches the event with mixed feelings, anticipating both nostalgia and discomfort, and inside the now empty rehearsal hall, chairs arranged in a loose circle, the absence of stage lights and costumes makes the space feel stripped bare, as if the magic has evaporated, leaving only the bones of effort and intention, and as the group shares reflections, Roch listens more than he speaks, absorbing stories of fear overcome, confidence gained, disappointment tempered by pride, and when it is his turn, he hesitates, the old instinct to deflect rising, but he resists, choosing instead to speak plainly about how the play forced him to confront his avoidance of sincerity, how humor had become a refuge rather than a tool, and as he speaks, he feels the weight of his words settle into the room, not heavy but grounding, and the playwright thanks him, explaining that his performance embodied the heart of her work, that seeing his struggle and transformation on stage validated her belief that ordinary stories matter, and Roch is struck by the responsibility implicit in this praise, the realization that his personal reckoning had ripple effects beyond himself, and afterward, as the group disperses, the playwright pulls him aside, asking if he has ever considered pursuing acting more seriously, and Roch laughs reflexively, then stops himself, recognizing the laugh as habit rather than conviction, and he answers honestly that he does not know, that the idea both excites and terrifies him, and she nods, suggesting that fear might be an indicator of importance rather than inadequacy, and this notion lingers with Roch long after he leaves the theater, echoing through his thoughts as he navigates the city streets, noticing auditions posted on bulletin boards, community events advertised in shop windows, possibilities he previously ignored now registering as invitations rather than background noise, and this shift unsettles him, because acknowledging possibility also means acknowledging the risk of failure, and Roch has built much of his identity around the pretense that he is immune to disappointment, and this pretense is challenged further when he attends a small acting workshop on a whim, sitting among strangers younger and older than himself, all united by a willingness to be vulnerable in public, and as exercises demand emotional honesty, Roch feels both exposed and exhilarated, recognizing the same tension he felt on stage, the same demand for presence, and though he struggles, stumbles, and occasionally retreats into humor, he notices that his instincts are changing, that he can catch himself mid-deflection and choose differently, and this incremental progress emboldens him, yet it also strains his relationships, as friends and co-workers react to his evolving demeanor with confusion, accustomed to a version of Roch who provided levity without demanding depth, and some resist the change, preferring the comfort of familiar roles, and this resistance forces Roch to confront an uncomfortable truth: growth can disrupt as much as it enriches, and not everyone will welcome the person he is becoming, and this realization is tested when he encounters an old acquaintance who dismisses his theatrical pursuits as a midlife crisis, laughing it off as a phase, and Roch feels the sting of dismissal keenly, tempted to agree, to minimize his own experience, but instead he feels a surge of quiet defiance, recognizing that reducing the play to a joke would betray the work he has done, and he responds calmly, asserting that the experience mattered, that it changed him, and though the acquaintance scoffs, Roch feels a sense of integrity solidify within him, a small but significant victory, and as weeks pass, Roch finds himself at another crossroads, balancing the demands of his established life with the pull of this new direction, and he grapples with practical concerns, finances, time, the fear of being perceived as foolish, and in conversations with Dwayne and Shirley, these anxieties surface, prompting honest discussions about risk, security, and the courage to redefine oneself later in life, and Shirley, ever perceptive, points out that the play did not create these desires but merely revealed them, suggesting that ignoring them would be a choice as active as pursuing them, and this framing resonates with Roch, clarifying that inaction is not neutrality but avoidance, and one evening, alone in his apartment, Roch replays a recording of the performance he managed to obtain, watching himself on stage, noting the moments of hesitation and sincerity, and he feels a mixture of pride and melancholy, recognizing both how far he has come and how much remains uncertain, and as the recording ends, he sits in silence, considering the question that has hovered since the curtain fell, what happens now, and for the first time. The question does not feel accusatory but open-ended, a space he can inhabit without rushing to fill, and as he turns off the television and looks around his quiet apartment, Roch acknowledges that while the play is over, the discipline, honesty, and presence it demanded have become part of him, altering his perception of himself and his relationships, and though he does not yet know where this path will lead, he senses that retreating fully into his old patterns would require an effort he is no longer willing to make, because something fundamental has shifted, and the laughter he once wielded as armor now feels lighter, more intentional, capable of coexisting with sincerity rather than erasing it, and as he prepares for bed, Roch feels a cautious optimism settle in, an understanding that growth is not a singular event but a series of choices, each demanding attention and courage, and while the future remains uncertain, the invitation extended by the play continues to beckon, urging him to remain present, to risk being seen, and to trust that the story unfolding is worth inhabiting, even without a guaranteed script. As autumn settles into the city with a deceptive gentleness, the kind that softens the light but sharpens the awareness of time passing, Roch finds himself inhabiting a peculiar in-between state, no longer fully anchored to the version of himself that existed before the play yet not entirely comfortable in the person he is becoming, and this liminal space manifests in small, persistent ways. In how he pauses before speaking, weighing sincerity against habit, in how he listens for meaning beneath casual remarks, and in how the absence of rehearsals leaves his evenings strangely unstructured, as if his internal clock has been recalibrated to expect purpose at specific hours, and this expectation pushes him to seek out new commitments, not out of ambition exactly, but out of a desire to remain awake to himself, and so he begins attending more workshops, reading scripts late into the night, and engaging in conversations that stretch beyond pleasantries, and while these activities energize him, they also expose fault lines in his life that had long been papered over with routine, particularly in his professional sphere, where his job, once tolerated as a means to stability, now feels increasingly misaligned with his internal momentum, and Roch notices how meetings drain him, how tasks feel performative in the emptiest sense, and this dissatisfaction grows harder to ignore, prompting him to question whether his career choices were ever truly his own or simply the path of least resistance, a realization that brings both clarity and resentment, because acknowledging agency retroactively reframes past compromises as choices rather than inevitabilities, and this reframing is uncomfortable, as it demands accountability, and in conversations with Dwayne, Roch voices these frustrations, expecting pragmatic advice, but Dwayne surprises him by admitting his own discontent, revealing that stability, while comforting, can calcify into stagnation if left unexamined, and this mutual honesty deepens their bond, transforming it from one defined by contrast into one grounded in shared uncertainty, while Shirley, observing these shifts, becomes both confidant and compass, reminding them that change need not be dramatic to be meaningful, that recalibration can occur through incremental adjustments rather than radical upheaval. Yet even her steady presence cannot shield Roch from the social repercussions of his evolving priorities, as acquaintances and colleagues respond to his introspection with bemusement or dismissal, interpreting his newfound seriousness as pretension or crisis, and these reactions sting more than he anticipates, because they reflect back the image he once projected, the jokester whose depth was assumed to be limited by design, and confronting this perception forces Roch to grapple with the reality that while he may have outgrown certain roles, others still expect him to inhabit them, and this tension comes to a head during a social gathering where old friends trade familiar jokes and anecdotes, and Roch, attempting to engage authentically, finds his contributions falling flat, his sincerity met with awkward silence or deflection, and in that moment he feels profoundly alone, suspended between identities, and the urge to retreat into humor surges, offering immediate relief, but he resists, choosing instead to sit with the discomfort, to allow the dissonance to exist without resolution, and this choice, though painful, reinforces his commitment to change, because it affirms that growth often entails loss, the loss of effortless belonging, the loss of unexamined roles, and this understanding becomes a quiet anchor as Roch navigates subsequent interactions with greater intentionality, selecting environments that support his emerging values, even if they are unfamiliar or intimidating, and this selection process leads him back to the theater, not as a performer this time, but as an observer, attending productions across the city, studying performances with a critical yet empathetic eye, and in these darkened auditoriums he feels a sense of communion, a recognition that art offers a language for experiences that resist casual conversation, and he begins to appreciate the discipline underpinning compelling performances, the rigor and vulnerability required to sustain authenticity night after night, and this appreciation tempers his earlier romanticism, replacing it with respect for the craft, and as he immerses himself further, Roch encounters individuals whose lives orbit theater without fanfare, stage managers, lighting technicians, writers, people who have built sustainable relationships with art by integrating it into their daily routines, and these encounters expand his conception of what participation can look like, challenging the binary between hobby and profession, success and failure, and this expanded perspective alleviates some of his anxiety, suggesting that fulfillment need not be validated by external recognition, that engagement itself can be sufficient, and yet the question of commitment persists, resurfacing whenever Roch considers auditioning for another role, the fear of overreaching colliding with the fear of stagnation, and this internal debate intensifies when the playwright from the earlier production reaches out, inviting him to read for a new piece she is developing, a workshop reading rather than a full production, low stakes by conventional standards, but emotionally significant for Roch, because it represents continuity, an acknowledgement that his presence mattered. And he agonizes over the invitation, oscillating between excitement and dread, imagining potential outcomes, success and embarrassment, validation and rejection, and in these imaginings he recognizes a familiar pattern, the tendency to catastrophize, to inflate stakes as a means of avoidance, and with Shirley's gentle encouragement, he decides to accept, framing the experience not as a test but as an exploration, and this reframing proves crucial as he enters the rehearsal space, script in hand, heart racing, and encounters a new group of collaborators, each carrying their own aspirations and insecurities, and as they read through the material, Roch notices how his listening has sharpened, how he responds more intuitively to subtext, and while he still stumbles, he no longer interprets mistakes as evidence of inadequacy but as information, feedback guiding adjustment, and this shift in mindset feels liberating, because it decouples self-worth from performance, allowing him to engage more fully without the paralyzing weight of judgment, and after the reading, feedback is exchanged, constructive and candid, and Roch absorbs it with a receptivity that would have been impossible months earlier, and the playwright thanks him again, noting how his presence lends credibility to the characters, and while Roch is flattered, he remains cautious, aware that praise can be intoxicating, capable of distorting motivation, And he reflects on this dynamic during a late-night walk. Considering how easily validation can replace intrinsic curiosity, and resolves to ground his involvement in process rather than outcome, a resolution that aligns with the discipline he observed in seasoned practitioners. And as weeks turn into months, Roger's life settles into a new rhythm, one that accommodates uncertainty without being consumed by it, balancing work obligations with creative pursuits, social engagements with solitude, and this balance, while imperfect, feels intentional, and yet beneath this equilibrium, unresolved questions linger, particularly regarding identity, how to integrate his past self with his present evolution without disavowing either, and this integration challenge surfaces unexpectedly when Rog encounters a recording of an old stand-up performance he once did casually for friends, and watching it now, he feels a mixture of affection and discomfort, recognizing both the defensive posture and the genuine wit that characterized him then, and instead of rejecting that version of himself, he acknowledges its role in his survival, understanding that humor was not a flaw, but a strategy, one that served its purpose until it no longer sufficed, and this compassionate recontextualization allows Rog to reconcile with his history, viewing growth not as repudiation but as expansion, and this reconciliation manifests externally in how he relates to others, offering humor when appropriate, depth when invited, and accepting that not every interaction will accommodate both. And as he continues to navigate this evolving landscape, Rog becomes increasingly aware that the play's true impact lies not in the performance itself but in the habits of attention it cultivated, the willingness to remain present, to tolerate discomfort, and to engage honestly with oneself and others, and these habits, once established, resist abandonment, shaping perception in subtle yet enduring ways, and as Rog stands at another threshold, contemplating future opportunities, he recognizes that certainty may never arrive, that the absence of a clear script is not a failing but a condition of authentic living, and while this realization does not eliminate fear, it contextualizes it, rendering it manageable, and as the season deepens, the city cloaked in longer shadows and cooler nights, Rog feels a cautious confidence take root, not the bravado of his youth but a steadier assurance grounded in self-awareness, and though the path ahead remains undefined, he senses that he is better equipped to walk it, attentive to both the laughter and the silence, understanding now that each has its place in the unfolding story, and that the act of choosing, again and again, to remain engaged is itself a form of performance, one that extends beyond any stage. Winter arrives not with drama but with a quiet insistence, cooler mornings and longer evenings that compress time and encourage reflection, and Rog feels this seasonal shift acutely, as if the external narrowing of daylight mirrors an internal sharpening of focus, because the months since the play have not diluted its influence as he once feared but instead distilled it, clarifying what had previously felt diffuse. And this clarity manifests less as answers than as better questions about how he allocates attention, how he measures fulfillment, and how much of his life has been shaped by reflex rather than intention, and these questions accompany him into his daily routines, altering their texture, making even mundane actions feel charged with significance, and at work, Rog notices how often he performs enthusiasm rather than experiencing it, how meetings resemble rehearsed scenes where outcomes are predetermined, and while this awareness initially breeds frustration, it gradually evolves into discernment, allowing him to identify which aspects of his job align with his values and which merely sustain inertia, and this discernment emboldens him to propose changes, modest at first, requesting assignments that involve collaboration and creativity, volunteering for projects that demand narrative framing rather than rote execution, and while these requests are met with cautious approval, Rog senses resistance beneath the surface, an unspoken expectation that he remain within the boundaries of his established persona, and this tension reminds him that institutional structures, like social ones, often rely on predictability, rewarding consistency over evolution, and navigating this dynamic requires patience, a willingness to advocate for himself without alienating others, a skill he is still developing, and outside of work, Roger's engagement with theater deepens in less visible ways, as he begins assisting with script readings, offering feedback, and participating in discussions that foreground craft over performance, and in these spaces he feels less pressure to prove himself, more freedom to contribute thoughtfully, and this shift in role provides a sense of belonging that is quieter but more sustainable than the adrenaline-fueled validation of applause, and he begins to appreciate the ecology of creative communities, how they depend not only on stars but on attentive participants willing to support, critique, and sustain the process, and this appreciation tempers his earlier anxiety about legitimacy, replacing it with a respect for commitment over recognition. Yet despite this growing equilibrium, moments of doubt persist, surfacing unexpectedly during idle hours, when Roch wonders whether his involvement is merely a distraction, a sophisticated way of avoiding deeper change, and these doubts intensify when he encounters peers who have pursued artistic paths more decisively, measuring his incremental approach against their apparent conviction, and in these comparisons, Roch feels the old pull of self-criticism, the urge to frame his journey as insufficient, and it is in response to this internal pressure that he seeks counsel from Shirley, whose perspective remains grounded and expansive, and over a long conversation, she challenges his tendency to evaluate growth through external metrics, reminding him that progress is not linear and that self-trust develops through consistency rather than grand gestures, and her words resonate, offering a counterpoint to the scarcity mindset that equates worth with speed and skill, and this reframing allows Roch to re-engage with his pursuits from a place of curiosity rather than urgency, and as the winter weeks pass, he accepts another invitation to participate in a staged reading, this time for a playwright whose work grapples with generational tension and cultural memory, themes that resonate with Roger's own reflections on aging and legacy, and the rehearsal process unfolds with a measured intensity, participants balancing respect for the material with openness to exploration. And Roch notices how his instincts have evolved, how he now approaches characters with empathy rather than irony, seeking to understand their motivations rather than exploit their quirks, and this shift is acknowledged by fellow actors, who respond to his grounded presence with trust, and this trust reinforces his sense of competence, not as superiority but as reliability, and after the reading, feedback highlights the emotional weight he brings to the role, and while Roch appreciates the affirmation, he remains attentive to its transient nature, recognizing that each project is discrete, that competence must be renewed rather than assumed, and this awareness fosters humility, a quality he once resisted but now finds stabilizing, and beyond the creative sphere, Roger's personal relationships continue to recalibrate, as friends accustomed to his performative humor adapt, some embracing the change, others drifting away, and this selective pruning, while painful, yields a smaller but more resonant social circle, one in which conversations accommodate nuance and silence without discomfort, and Roch finds himself valuing these interactions deeply, recognizing that intimacy thrives not on constant stimulation but on mutual presence, and this realization informs how he navigates romantic prospects as well, approaching connection with greater honesty and patience, resisting the urge to charm or deflect, and while this approach feels riskier, it also feels aligned, and even when connections do not endure, they end with clarity rather than confusion, and as the year draws toward its close, Roch reflects on the arc initiated by the play, recognizing that its most profound impact lies in how it reoriented his relationship to time, shifting his focus from deferred gratification to engaged participation, from future validation to present practice. And this reorientation influences his goals for the coming months, which he frames not as resolutions but as intentions. Commitments to continue exploring, listening, and adjusting, and though uncertainty remains a constant companion, it no longer dominates his narrative, serving instead as a reminder of possibility, and on a quiet evening, as Roch reviews his calendar, noting the balance of obligations and chosen engagements, he feels a sense of coherence settle in. Not the satisfaction of completion but the reassurance of alignment, and he understands that this state is provisional, subject to change, but valuable nonetheless, and as he prepares for the next phase, he carries forward the lessons of discipline, vulnerability, and presence instilled by the play, aware that these qualities must be practiced continually, not assumed, and while he cannot predict where this path will lead, he trusts that remaining attentive to its unfolding will yield a life that feels inhabited rather than performed, and in this trust, Roch finds a quiet confidence, one that does not require an audience to sustain it. And as winter deepens and the city settles into its nocturnal rhythm, he steps forward with measured resolve, open to the next invitation, whatever form it may take. Spring announces itself not through spectacle but through accumulation, a gradual loosening of the air, a subtle recalibration of light that Roch notices more than he ever has before, as if his internal senses, once dulled by routine, have been tuned to detect nuance, and this seasonal transition coincides with a shift in his internal landscape, where the tentative confidence he cultivated over winter begins to encounter external tests, situations that demand not reflection but decision, and these demands arrive first in the form of an unexpected offer, modest yet symbolic, when a small community theater group reaches out after a staged reading, inviting Roch to take on a supporting role in an upcoming production, a limited run, minimal pay, but a clear step beyond workshops and readings, and the invitation triggers a cascade of reactions, excitement tempered by apprehension, pride shadowed by doubt, because accepting would require tangible sacrifices, evenings surrendered, weekends consumed, energy diverted from the fragile balance he has so carefully assembled, and Roch finds himself returning to familiar patterns of deliberation, listing pros and cons, imagining best and worst case scenarios, yet something about this decision feels different from earlier crossroads, less existential, more practical, and this distinction forces him to confront a subtle truth, that growth, once initiated, does not perpetually announce itself with drama but increasingly presents as ordinary choice, and recognizing this challenges his lingering tendency to mythologize transformation, to expect change to feel monumental, and after several days of quiet consideration, punctuated by conversations with Dwayne and Shirley, each offering perspective shared by their own negotiations with ambition and stability, Roch accepts the role, not as a declaration of reinvention but as a continuation of engagement, a step consistent with the intentions he set rather than a lead fueled by impulse, and this acceptance initiates a new phase, one characterized by structure, obligation, and the return of rehearsal schedules that once again impose rhythm on his evenings, and as rehearsals begin, Roch encounters a different environment than before, one less forgiving, more procedural, where expectations are articulated clearly and accountability is implicit. And while this professionalism initially intimidates him, it also offers relief, because it replaces ambiguity with standards. And Roch responds well to this clarity, preparing diligently, arriving early, listening attentively, and observing how seasoned actors navigate the balance between confidence and openness, and he notices how his previous experience informs his approach, allowing him to integrate direction without defensiveness, to adjust without self-flagellation, and this competence, quietly earned, bolsters his sense of belonging, not through validation but through contribution, and yet even as he settles into the process, external pressures mount, particularly at work, where his increasing absences and divided attention draw scrutiny, prompting a conversation with his supervisor that forces Roch to articulate his priorities, and this conversation, though professional, carries emotional weight, because it requires him to acknowledge, aloud, that his engagement with theater is not a whim but a meaningful commitment, and voicing this truth crystallizes it, transforming an internal orientation into an external stance, and while the outcome is a negotiated compromise rather than a full endorsement, Roch leaves the discussion with a renewed sense of agency, having advocated for himself without apology, and this experience reverberates beyond the workplace, reinforcing his capacity to navigate conflict without retreat, and as rehearsals intensify, Roch becomes acutely aware of the physical demands of performance, the endurance required to sustain focus, the vulnerability demanded by repetition. And this awareness fosters respect for the craft that extends beyond romantic notions of expression, highlighting the labor underpinning effective performance, and he adjusts his routines accordingly, prioritizing rest, hydration, and mental preparation, recognizing that presence is not merely emotional but embodied, and this holistic approach contrasts sharply with his former tendency to rely on charisma alone, and the contrast underscores how far he has traveled, and yet despite this progress, moments of insecurity persist, surfacing unexpectedly during table reads or blocking sessions, when a line delivery falls flat or a note lands heavily, and in these moments, Roach feels the old impulse to deflect, to joke away discomfort, but he now recognizes this impulse as information rather than directive, allowing it to pass without acting on it, and this restraint, though subtle, represents a significant internal shift, one that preserves the integrity of the work and his relationships within it, and as opening night approaches, the ensemble cohesion strengthens, built through shared vulnerability and collective effort, and Roach finds himself integrated not as an outlier but as a collaborator, trusted and relied upon, and this integration yields a sense of satisfaction that is quieter but more sustaining than applause, and on the eve of the first performance, Roach experiences a familiar nervousness, but it lacks the paralyzing edge it once carried, replaced instead by alertness, a readiness to respond rather than perform, and when the curtain rises, the performance unfolds with a steadiness that surprises him, moments of connection emerging organically, laughter and silence balanced, and Roach feels himself inhabiting the role fully, not losing himself but expanding, and as the audience responds, he registers their presence without leaning on it, maintaining focus on the scene rather than the reaction, and this orientation marks a departure from his earlier dependence on feedback, signaling a maturation of intent, and after the show, amidst congratulations and quiet celebrations, Roach experiences a tempered pride, acknowledging success without inflating it, and this moderation reflects a growing internal regulation, an ability to experience affirmation without becoming beholden to it, and in the days that follow, as the production continues its run, Roach navigates the demands with consistency, balancing work, rehearsal, and rest, and while fatigue sets in, it feels purposeful rather than depleting, and this distinction reinforces his sense that engagement, when aligned with values, can generate energy rather than consume it, and as the run concludes, Roach reflects on the experience not as a culmination but as a data point, evidence of capacity rather than destiny, and this perspective allows him to release the project without clinging, grateful for its contribution without needing it to define him, and this capacity for release marks another evolution, because it suggests security not contingent on continuation, and in conversations with Dwayne and Shirley afterward, Roach articulates this realization, noting how each project, relationship, or commitment can be meaningful without requiring permanence, and this articulation resonates, offering a framework for navigating future choices with flexibility rather than fear, and as spring progresses, Roach senses an internal consolidation, disparate insights coalescing into a coherent orientation, one characterized by attentiveness, discernment, and willingness, and while uncertainty remains, it no longer dominates his experience, existing instead as a neutral backdrop against which choices are made, and this neutrality grants him freedom, the freedom to engage without clinging, to commit without surrendering agency, and as he considers upcoming opportunities, auditions, collaborations, and even potential shifts in his professional life, Roach feels equipped not with answers but with practices, habits of attention cultivated through experience, and these practices, he realizes, are the true legacy of the play that initiated this journey, extending far beyond any single performance, shaping how he inhabits time, relationships, and himself, and as he walks home one evening under a sky softened by dusk, Roach feels a grounded optimism, not the exuberance of reinvention but the steadiness of alignment, and he understands that while the narrative of his life may no longer follow a familiar script, it is nonetheless unfolding with intention, guided by choices that honor both where he has been and where he is willing to go, and in this understanding, he finds a quiet satisfaction, one that does not demand resolution, only continued presence, and as the season turns, he remains open to the next act, attentive to its cues, ready to respond. Summer arrives with an assertiveness that contrasts sharply with the tentative unfolding of spring, bringing longer days, louder nights, and a heightened sense of exposure, as if the world itself has removed a layer of insulation, and Roch feels this shift internally as well, sensing that the steady practices he has cultivated are now being tested by momentum, by the temptation to accelerate, to convert alignment into ambition, and this temptation manifests subtly at first, in the increased frequency of invitations, auditions suggested, informal recommendations passed along by acquaintances who have noticed his reliability, and while none of these opportunities are grand in isolation, together they create a narrative of ascent that Roch is both drawn to and wary of, because embedded within it is the familiar risk of conflating movement with progress, and this awareness prompts him to slow his responses, to consider not just whether he can accept each invitation but whether doing so would serve the orientation he has worked to establish, and this discernment becomes a daily practice, exercised through small refusals as much as selective acceptance, and each refusal, while accompanied by a flicker of fear, reinforces his trust in himself, affirming that saying no does not equate to regression but can represent commitment to depth over breadth. And this commitment is challenged further when Roch is invited to audition for a role that, while modest in scope, carries symbolic weight, a comedic part reminiscent of his earlier persona, and the invitation stirs a complex reaction, because it offers validation of his humor, the trait through which he was first recognized, and accepting it would be easy, comfortable, even strategically sound, yet Roch hesitates, questioning whether returning to overt comedy might reinforce patterns he has worked to complicate, and this internal debate unfolds over several days, during which he reflects on the evolution of his relationship with humor, recognizing that his goal is not to abandon it but to integrate it with sincerity, and this realization reframes the decision, allowing him to audition not as a retreat but as an experiment, an opportunity to inhabit comedy differently, and when he attends the audition, he approaches the material with restraint, resisting exaggeration, allowing moments of stillness to punctuate the humor, and while the casting team responds with interest, their feedback reveals expectations rooted in familiarity, prompting Roch to consider whether alignment requires not only internal adjustment but also external negotiation, and this insight deepens his understanding of how identities are co-constructed, shared by both self-perception and others' projections, and navigating this dynamic demands patience and clarity, qualities Roch continues to refine, and as summer progresses, his social life expands in parallel, as theater circles intersect with older friendships, creating moments of convergence that expose lingering tensions, particularly when friends accustomed to his comedic role express discomfort with his evolving seriousness, interpreting it as distance or judgment, and these interactions test Roch's ability to remain open without capitulating, to listen without retreating, and in one such encounter, a casual gathering devolves into a confrontation, with an old friend accusing Roch of abandoning the group, of becoming someone else, and the accusation strikes deeply, because it echoes Roch's own fears of disloyalty, yet instead of deflecting, he responds honestly, acknowledging the change without apology, affirming his affection while asserting his need for growth, and while the conversation remains unresolved, Roch leaves it with a sense of integrity intact, recognizing that authenticity does not guarantee harmony but preserves self-respect, and this recognition sustains him through subsequent moments of friction, as he learns to tolerate the discomfort of misalignment without rushing to repair it through self-erasure, and this tolerance extends to his professional life as well, where the balancing act between work and creative commitments grows increasingly complex, and Roch is forced to confront the finite nature of time and energy, prompting deeper reflection on priorities, and after weeks of deliberation, he makes a consequential decision, requesting a reduction in hours at work to accommodate his creative pursuits, a move that carries financial implications and emotional weight, because it represents a tangible reallocation of resources toward values rather than security, and the process of negotiating this change is fraught with uncertainty, met with skepticism and caution, but ultimately approved on a trial basis, and this outcome elicits a mixture of relief and responsibility, as Roach recognizes that increased freedom demands increased discipline, and this awareness sharpens his routines, compelling him to structure his days with intention, balancing solitude and collaboration, preparation and rest, and as he adapts to this new configuration, Roach notices how his sense of time shifts, hours once consumed by passive distraction now available for focused engagement, and this availability brings both opportunity and pressure, because unstructured time amplifies internal voices, doubts resurfacing, urging him to prove the legitimacy of his choices through productivity, and managing this pressure requires vigilance, reminding himself that worth is not measured by output alone, and to counteract this tendency, Roach incorporates reflective practices into his routine, journaling, walking without destination, attending performances without agenda, and these practices help him maintain equilibrium, grounding ambition in awareness, and as he deepens his involvement in theater communities, Roach becomes increasingly attuned to the social dynamics that shape creative ecosystems, observing how power, access, and recognition circulate, often unevenly, and this observation complicates his earlier idealism, prompting critical engagement with the structures that govern opportunity, and while this awareness breeds occasional cynicism, it also fuels a desire to contribute ethically, to support voices marginalized by those structures, and Roach finds himself mentoring younger participants informally, sharing insights gleaned from his journey, emphasizing patience and self-trust over rapid ascent. And these conversations reinforce his own learning, reminding him that articulation clarifies intention, and this reciprocal exchange deepens his sense of belonging, not as a seeker alone but as a participant with something to offer, and as summer reaches its peak, Roach receives news that he has been cast in the comedic role he auditioned for, and the offer arrives with conditions, expectations that he deliver a familiar style, and Roach weighs the decision carefully, considering whether he can inhabit the role without reverting to self-caricature, and after discussion with the director, he negotiates space to interpret the character with nuance, and this negotiation, while tentative, represents a small assertion of agency, and accepting the role, he commits to the challenge of integrating humor with depth, and rehearsals begin, revealing both the ease and difficulty of this integration, as Roach navigates the fine line between levity and evasion, and through trial and error, he discovers moments where comedy enhances sincerity rather than obscures it, eliciting laughter that carries recognition rather than dismissal, and these moments affirm his belief that evolution need not entail rejection of past strengths but their recalibration, and as the production develops, Roach experiences a renewed appreciation for versatility, understanding that range is not the accumulation of disparate skills but the capacity to adapt expression to intention, and this understanding informs his broader approach to life, encouraging flexibility without fragmentation, and as the summer winds down, Roach reflects on the cumulative impact of these months, recognizing that his journey is less about achieving a particular identity and more about cultivating responsiveness, the ability to meet circumstances with presence rather than preconception, and while challenges persist, financial uncertainty, relational tension, professional ambiguity, he feels equipped to navigate them with greater resilience, because his sense of self is no longer anchored to a singular role or outcome, and this decentive stability offers freedom, the freedom to continue exploring without the burden of definitive answers, and as the season transitions, Roach senses that another inflection point approaches, one that will test the sustainability of his choices and the depth of his commitment, and while he does not yet know its form, he remains attentive, grounded in practices that support adaptability, and as he watches the late summer light fade into evening, he feels a quiet readiness, not for resolution, but for continued engagement, trusting that the story unfolding, though unscripted, is being shaped with care, and that this care, exercised daily, is itself the most meaningful performance he can offer. As late summer gives way to early autumn once again, the cyclical return of the season does not feel repetitive to Roch but instructive, as if the year itself is offering a quiet comparison between who he was when this journey began and who he is now, and this comparison unfolds not through dramatic revelations but through subtle contrasts in how he occupies his days, how he responds to uncertainty, and how he measures meaning, and the comedic production he has committed to becomes the primary arena where these contrasts are tested, because comedy, once his refuge, now demands integration rather than escape, and in rehearsal he finds himself continuously negotiating tone, calibrating timing not for maximum effect but for narrative coherence, and this recalibration is more demanding than he anticipated, because it requires restraint, a willingness to let moments breathe rather than filling every silence with a joke, and this discipline challenges his instincts, yet it also refines them, sharpening his sensitivity to rhythm and audience perception, and as he works through these challenges, Roch becomes increasingly aware of how deeply ingrained his earlier patterns were, how reflexive humor had become a mode of self-protection, and recognizing this does not induce shame so much as curiosity, prompting him to examine other areas of his life where similar reflexes might operate. And this examination extends into his relationships, particularly those strained by his evolving priorities, and when he reconnects with an old friend who had previously accused him of abandonment, the conversation unfolds with cautious openness, both parties acknowledging distance without assigning blame, and while the rift is not fully healed, the exchange establishes a new baseline of honesty, one that allows difference to coexist with affection, and this outcome reinforces Roger's growing understanding that reconciliation does not require regression, that relationships can adapt without reverting to earlier forms, and this insight alleviates lingering guilt, allowing him to engage with his past without being constrained by it, and professionally, the reduced work schedule introduces a new set of pressures, as financial realities demand vigilance, prompting Roch to adopt a more deliberate approach to budgeting and planning, and while these practical considerations occasionally provoke anxiety, they also anchor his choices in responsibility, countering any romanticized notions of artistic pursuit, and this balance between aspiration and pragmatism becomes a defining feature of this phase, shaping how Roch evaluates opportunities, not through the lens of ego but sustainability, and as he navigates these considerations, he becomes increasingly aware of the social narratives surrounding success and legitimacy, how external validation often lags behind internal transformation, and this lag can breed doubt if unexamined, and to counteract this, Roch cultivates a reflective practice, documenting his experiences not as achievements but as observations, noting shifts in attention, moments of alignment, instances of resistance, and this documentation provides a tangible record of growth that does not rely on external acknowledgement, reinforcing his trust in process, and within the theater community, Roger's consistency earns him a reputation for reliability, leading to invitations to participate in collaborative projects that prioritize ensemble work over individual prominence, and these projects resonate deeply with him, as they emphasize shared authorship and mutual support, aligning with his evolving values, and in these collaborative spaces, Roch experiences a sense of belonging that is not contingent on performance alone but on contribution, and this sense of belonging contrasts sharply with earlier experiences where acceptance hinged on entertainment value, and recognizing this contrast further solidifies his commitment to integration, and as rehearsals progress toward opening night, tensions inevitably surface, creative disagreements, scheduling conflicts, and moments of fatigue that test patience, and Roch observes how his responses have changed, how he now addresses conflict directly yet calmly, articulating concerns without escalation, and this composure surprises even him, revealing capacities developed through sustained self-awareness rather than innate temperament, and when opening night arrives, Roch feels a familiar nervousness, but it is accompanied by a steadiness born of preparation and trust, and the performance unfolds with energy and cohesion, laughter rippling through the audience at moments that feel earned rather than forced, and Roch senses that the humor is landing differently, not as a shield but as an invitation, drawing the audience into recognition rather than deflection, and this distinction is subtle yet profound, affirming his belief that comedy can coexist with depth. And after the performance, feedback from both audience members and peers reflects this integration, noting the humanity underlying the humor, and while Roach appreciates the response, he remains grounded, aware that each performance exists within a larger continuum, and the subsequent shows reinforce this perspective, as minor variations in audience reaction highlight the fluidity of reception, reminding him that consistency lies not in outcome but in intention. And as the production concludes its run, Roach experiences a familiar post-performance letdown, yet it is less disorienting than before, mitigated by his capacity to contextualize the experience within his broader trajectory, and this capacity allows him to transition smoothly into the next phase, which arrives unexpectedly in the form of an opportunity to co-facilitate a workshop for emerging performers, an invitation that both flatters and intimidates him, because it positions him not merely as a participant but as a guide, and Roach grapples with imposter syndrome, questioning his authority to teach when his own journey feels ongoing, and in discussing this with Shirley, he is reminded that guidance does not require mastery, only honesty and presence, and this reframing encourages him to accept the role, approaching it as a shared exploration rather than instruction, and the workshop experience proves transformative, as Roach articulates principles he has internalized implicitly, the value of listening, the courage to tolerate silence, the importance of aligning intention with expression, and in articulating these ideas, he consolidates them, translating personal insight into communal knowledge, and the participants respond with engagement and vulnerability, sharing their own uncertainties, and Roach recognizes echoes of his earlier self in their questions, and this recognition fosters compassion, both outward and inward, allowing him to view his past struggles not as failures but as necessary steps. And this compassionate perspective extends to his present challenges, tempering self-criticism with patience, and as autumn deepens, Roach's life settles into a rhythm that feels both dynamic and stable, characterized by cycles of engagement and rest, creation and reflection, and this rhythm supports resilience, enabling him to navigate setbacks without destabilization, and when an anticipated audition does not result in a callback, Roach processes the disappointment without spiraling, acknowledging the sting while maintaining perspective, and this response marks a significant departure from earlier patterns, signaling a maturation of emotional regulation, and as he reflects on this change, he recognizes that the play that initiated this journey served as a catalyst not because of its content alone but because it demanded presence, discipline, and vulnerability, qualities he has since practiced across contexts. And these practices have reshaped his identity not as a fixed label but as an ongoing orientation toward experience, and this orientation allows him to remain open to evolution without losing coherence. And as the year edges toward its close once more, Roach senses that while he has not arrived at a destination, he has established a way of traveling that feels authentic, one that honors both curiosity and commitment, and this realization brings a quiet satisfaction, not of completion but of continuity, and as he looks ahead to the months to come, he does so without the urgency that once plagued him, trusting that attentive engagement will reveal the next steps in due time, and in this trust, Roach finds a sense of peace that coexists with ambition, allowing him to remain receptive to opportunity without being driven by fear, and as the light fades earlier each evening, he welcomes the introspection it invites, knowing now that cycles are not repetitions but refinements, each turn offering deeper understanding, and with this awareness, he remains poised at the edge of the next act, attentive to its emergence, prepared to respond with the same presence that has carried him thus far, understanding that the true performance continues not under lights but within the daily choices that shape his becoming. As the year tilts decisively toward its final months, Roach becomes acutely aware of a subtle but persistent shift in how he experiences anticipation, because where he once greeted the future with either bravado or dread, he now approaches it with a tempered curiosity, an openness that neither rushes nor resists what is coming, and this shift is tested when a confluence of events compresses his sense of time, overlapping commitments, expectations, and unresolved questions converging in ways that demand sustained attention rather than episodic effort, and the first of these pressures emerges from within the theater community, where a new collaborative project begins to take shape, an ambitious ensemble-driven piece that aims to blend narrative performance with personal testimony, blurring the boundary between character and self, and the premise immediately intrigues Roch while simultaneously activating his caution, because the project's structure requires participants to draw explicitly from their own lives, exposing vulnerabilities that cannot be masked by fictional distance, and Roch recognizes the familiar tension, the desire to engage colliding with the instinct to protect, and this tension is compounded by the project's timeline, which demands a significant commitment of time and emotional energy over several months, and Roch finds himself once again negotiating priorities, weighing the value of deep engagement against the risk of overextension, and in deliberating, he reflects on how his criteria for decision-making have evolved, shifting from fear-based avoidance to values-based discernment, and this reflection clarifies that his hesitation is not rooted in doubt about his capacity but in respect for the work's demands, and after careful consideration, he agrees to participate on a provisional basis, allowing himself space to assess alignment before full commitment, and this conditional acceptance represents a mature negotiation between openness and self-care, one that acknowledges limits without foreclosing possibility, and as the project begins, Roch encounters a diverse group of collaborators, each bringing distinct histories and motivations, and the initial sessions focus less on performance and more on listening, establishing a shared vocabulary of trust, and Roch finds these sessions unexpectedly taxing, because listening deeply, without preparing response or performance, requires a different kind of stamina, and he becomes aware of how often he has equated engagement with expression, underestimating the discipline of receptivity, and this awareness challenges him to slow down, to tolerate silence not as absence but as space, and as stories emerge from others, stories of regret, resilience, displacement, and longing, Roch feels a resonance that bypasses intellect, stirring empathy and recognition, and this resonance deepens his commitment, reinforcing the sense that the project's value lies not in outcome but in process, and parallel to this creative immersion, Roch's personal life presents its own tests, particularly in the realm of family, where long-standing dynamics resurface with renewed intensity during a gathering that brings unresolved histories into close proximity, and Roch approaches this gathering with apprehension, aware that his changed disposition may unsettle established roles, and his fears are partially realized when conversations veer into familiar territory, expectations implicit, humor anticipated, and Roch senses the pull to perform the version of himself that smooths tension, yet he resists, choosing instead to engage honestly, setting gentle boundaries, and while this choice introduces moments of awkwardness, it also opens space for unexpected exchanges, quieter conversations that acknowledge complexity without resolving it, and Roch leaves the gathering emotionally drained but grounded, recognizing that authenticity in familial contexts often unfolds incrementally, and this recognition tempers his expectations, allowing patience to replace urgency, and professionally, the reduced work schedule continues to reshape his sense of identity, as Roch navigates the ambiguity of being neither fully immersed in a conventional career trajectory nor wholly defined by artistic pursuit, and this in-between status provokes occasional anxiety, particularly when confronted with societal narratives that privilege clarity and linear progression, and Roch encounters these narratives in subtle ways. Casual questions framed as concerned, comparisons offered without malice, and while these interactions can trigger self-doubt, Roch has developed strategies to contextualize them, recognizing that discomfort often arises when personal choices deviate from collective norms, and this understanding allows him to respond with composure, articulating his path without defensiveness, and over time, this articulation becomes more fluid, less rehearsed, reflecting an internal consolidation of purpose, and as the collaborative project progresses, Roch finds himself increasingly challenged to integrate personal material into performance, drawing connections between his journey and the themes emerging from the group, and this integration surfaces emotions he has not fully processed, particularly grief for lost time, opportunities deferred, and relationships altered by avoidance, and engaging these emotions within a supportive structure allows Roch to experience them without being overwhelmed, transforming them into sources of insight rather than paralysis, and this transformation reinforces his belief in the value of intentional vulnerability, not as catharsis but as practice, and outside of rehearsals, Roch maintains his reflective routines, journaling not to capture conclusions but to track fluctuations, noting how energy ebbs and flows in response to engagement, rest, and interaction, and these notes reveal patterns that inform his choices, highlighting the importance of pacing and the cumulative effect of small decisions, and this self-observation enhances his capacity for self-regulation, allowing him to adjust before reaching exhaustion, and as winter approaches once more, the city's rhythm shifts, nights lengthening, social calendars contracting, and Roch feels a familiar introspective pull, yet this time it is accompanied by steadiness rather than withdrawal, because his practices provide continuity amid change, and during this period, he receives an unexpected message from someone connected to the original play, an audience member who recognized themselves in Roger's performance and credits it with prompting a difficult but necessary conversation in their own life, and reading this message stirs a complex response, gratitude tempered by humility, because it affirms the impact of presence beyond immediate feedback, yet also underscores the responsibility inherent in authentic expression. And Roch reflects on how such impact cannot be engineered but emerges organically when intention aligns with action, and this reflection deepens his commitment to integrity over impression, and as the collaborative project approaches its public sharing, nerves intensify, because the material's personal nature raises stakes, and Roch finds himself confronting a resurgence of fear, not of failure but of exposure, and managing this fear requires returning to foundational practices, grounding attention in breath, body, and present moment, and leaning into the trust cultivated within the group, and on the evening of the sharing, Roch experiences a heightened awareness, senses sharpened, emotions close to the surface, and as he steps into the space, he does so with deliberate presence, acknowledging fear without yielding to it, and the performance unfolds not as spectacle but as communion, audience and performers inhabiting a shared vulnerability, and Roch feels moments of profound connection, interspersed with discomfort, and he allows both to coexist, resisting the urge to resolve or soften, and when the performance concludes, the response is subdued yet intense, a silence followed by thoughtful applause, conversations lingering, and Roch senses that something meaningful has occurred, though its significance resists immediate articulation, and in the days that follow, he processes the experience gradually, noting how it reverberates internally, prompting further reflection rather than closure, and this ongoing reverberation reinforces his understanding that meaningful work does not conclude neatly but continues to influence perception and choice, and as he integrates these insights, Roch becomes increasingly aware of how his relationship to identity has shifted, moving away from fixed definitions toward an understanding of self as dynamic, responsive, and contextually expressed, and this understanding alleviates pressure to arrive at a final form, allowing evolution to unfold organically, and as the year edges closer to its end, Roch reflects on the arc initiated by the simple decision to audition for a play, recognizing that its true significance lies not in any single outcome but in the cascade of practices it set in motion. Practices that continue to shape how he engages with uncertainty, connection, and purpose, and while he cannot predict what the coming months will bring, he feels equipped to meet them with presence and discernment, and this preparedness, grounded in experience rather than assurance, provides a sense of quiet confidence, and as winter settles in, Roch embraces the slower pace it invites, using it not to retreat but to integrate, honoring the work done while remaining open to what remains to unfold, and in this balance, he finds a sense of continuity, an understanding that the story he is living does not require resolution to be meaningful, only sustained attention, and as he stands once more at the threshold of another transition, he does so with a steadiness earned through practice, ready to continue, attentive to the next cue, trusting that the discipline of presence will guide him forward, even as the script remains unwritten. The weeks following the public sharing of the collaborative project unfold with a curious mixture of release and suspension, because while the former obligation has ended, its emotional residue continues to ripple through Roger's daily life, surfacing in unexpected moments, during quiet mornings when light filters through the window at a shallow winter angle, during routine errands where fragments of dialogue or gesture replay in his mind, and during conversations where he notices a subtle recalibration in how he listens, less eager to fill space, more willing to let meaning emerge slowly, and this lingering presence prompts him to reconsider his relationship with endings, recognizing that he has often treated them as points of resolution rather than as thresholds, and this reframing softens his tendency to rush toward closure, allowing him to inhabit aftermath as a valid and generative phase. And professionally, this period is marked by a notable lull, fewer auditions, fewer inquiries, a silence that might once have triggered anxiety, but which now feels more like a deliberate pause imposed by the season and by his own recent exertions, and Roch senses that his system requires integration, not acceleration, and so he resists the urge to fill the gap with activity, choosing instead to attend to the quieter work of reflection, and this choice is not always comfortable, because stillness has a way of amplifying unresolved questions, and Roch finds himself revisiting long-standing uncertainties about direction, sustainability, and the balance between creative fulfillment and material stability, and these questions arise not as crises but as persistent undercurrents, and rather than seeking definitive answers, Roch experiments with holding them gently, allowing them to coexist with daily functioning, and this experiment is supported by small rituals he establishes: morning walks taken without headphones, evenings dedicated to reading rather than passive consumption, and regular check-ins with a trusted friend who shares a similar orientation toward reflective practice, and through these conversations, Roch articulates thoughts that have remained diffuse, discovering clarity not through solitary rumination but through relational exchange, and this reinforces his growing appreciation for dialogue as a site of meaning-making, and amid this quieter rhythm, Roch receives an invitation to facilitate a workshop at a local community center, an opportunity that surprises him, because it positions him not as a performer but as a guide, someone asked to support others in exploring expression and presence, and his initial reaction is ambivalence, a mix of curiosity and self-doubt, because while he feels equipped experientially, he questions whether he possesses the authority implied by facilitation, and this hesitation prompts him to examine his assumptions about expertise, recognizing how deeply he has internalized hierarchical models of knowledge, and after deliberation, he accepts the invitation, framing it internally as an opportunity for mutual learning rather than instruction, and as he prepares for the workshop, Roch reflects on what has been most transformative in his own journey, identifying themes of attention, permission, and embodiment, and he structures the sessions around simple exercises designed to cultivate awareness rather than performance, and when the workshop begins, Roch is struck by the diversity of participants, varying in age, background, and motivation, and this diversity challenges him to remain adaptable, responsive to the group's evolving needs, and as the sessions progress, Roch experiences moments of uncertainty, exercises that fall flat, discussions that veer off course, and he notices his instinct to self-correct quickly, to assert control, yet he experiments with restraint, allowing space for participants to articulate their experiences even when they diverge from his expectations, and this approach yields surprising results, moments of insight emerging organically, and Roch realizes that facilitation mirrors performance in its demand for presence, yet differs in its orientation toward shared authorship, and this realization enriches his understanding of leadership as something distributed rather than centralized, and outside of the workshop, Roger's personal relationships continue to evolve subtly, particularly a friendship that has weathered years of intermittent closeness, and during this period of relative openness, The friend reaches out with an invitation to reconnect more intentionally, and Roch feels both warmth and apprehension, aware that past dynamics included patterns of avoidance and miscommunication, and in agreeing to meet, he commits internally to approaching the interaction with honesty rather than nostalgia, and their conversation unfolds with unexpected depth, all misunderstandings acknowledged, not fully resolved but contextualized, and Roch experiences a sense of relief, recognizing that relational repair does not require perfect alignment, only mutual willingness to engage, and this encounter reinforces his emerging belief that authenticity is less about disclosure and more about congruence between intention and action, and as winter deepens, the city becomes quieter, streets less crowded, and Roch finds solace in this contraction, using it as an opportunity to revisit creative impulses that had been set aside, and he begins writing again, not with the goal of production but as a means of exploration, allowing scenes and reflections to emerge without immediate purpose, and this writing feels different from previous efforts, less driven by validation, more attuned to curiosity, and Roch notices how his internal critique has softened, its voice still present but less dominant, and he attributes this shift to the cumulative effect of recent experiences that have demonstrated the value of process over outcome, and in parallel, Roch continues his physical practices, movement and breath anchoring his days, and he becomes increasingly aware of how embodiment influences cognition, how physical grounding supports emotional regulation, and this awareness informs his facilitation work, as he integrates somatic attention into exercises, and participants respond positively, often expressing surprise at how subtle shifts in posture or breath can alter perception, and these responses affirm Roger's intuition that presence is accessible through simple means, and this affirmation bolsters his confidence, not as certainty but as trust in experiential knowledge, and as the workshop concludes, Roch feels a sense of completion distinct from finality, an appreciation for the temporary community formed and the lessons exchanged, and this appreciation is tinged with gratitude, recognizing how stepping into a facilitative role has expanded his sense of contribution beyond self-expression, and shortly after, Roch is presented with another opportunity, a modest acting role in a project that aligns thematically with his recent explorations, and while the role is not prominent, it offers a chance to apply his evolved approach within a familiar context, and Roch accepts, approaching the work with curiosity rather than ambition, and on set, he notices how his relationship to performance has shifted, less concern with impression, more focus on truthful engagement, and this shift is noted by others, subtle feedback indicating a groundedness that enhances collaboration, and Roch receives this feedback with appreciation but without attachment. Aware that external validation is fleeting, and this equanimity surprises him, signaling a recalibration of his motivational structures, and as the year draws closer to its end, Roch engages in an informal ritual of reflection, reviewing notes, journals, and memories from the past months, and he observes patterns of expansion and contraction, engagement and rest, and he recognizes that his growth has not been linear but cyclical, marked by returns to familiar questions approached from new vantage points, and this recognition alleviates pressure to progress in a singular direction, allowing multiplicity to coexist, and in contemplating the future, Roch resists the urge to set rigid goals, opting instead to articulate guiding principles, presence, discernment, and reciprocity, and these principles serve as touchstones rather than destinations, and in articulating them, Roch feels a sense of alignment, an internal coherence that does not eliminate uncertainty but renders it navigable, and during a quiet evening, he receives a message from a former collaborator expressing interest in future work, and while details remain vague, the gesture signals continuity, a thread extending beyond the present moment, and Roch responds with openness tempered by realism, recognizing that not all possibilities must be pursued immediately, and this measured response reflects his evolving capacity to hold potential without urgency, and as the final days of the year approach, Roch participates in small communal gatherings, understated celebrations that prioritize connection over spectacle, and in these settings, He feels a sense of belonging grounded not in performance but in presence, and this sense of belonging affirms his journey, highlighting the value of showing up as oneself, imperfect and attentive. And on the final night of the year, Roch spends time alone before joining others, engaging in a personal ritual of acknowledgement, naming moments of courage, discomfort, and learning, and he acknowledges missteps without judgment, understanding them as integral to the process, and this ritual culminates in a feeling of quiet readiness, not for a specific outcome but for continued engagement with whatever unfolds. And as the new year arrives, marked by modest celebration, Roch carries forward a sense of continuity, aware that while external circumstances may shift, the practices he has cultivated provide a stable foundation, and in this awareness, he feels neither triumphant nor resigned, but grounded, prepared to continue exploring the interplay between expression and listening, action and reflection, individuality and community. And as he steps into the next phase, he does so with the understanding that the play, in its broadest sense, is ongoing, its meaning shaped not by grand gestures but by sustained attention to the present moment, and with this understanding, Roch remains open, attentive to the next cue, trusting that his capacity to respond has been honed through experience, and that whatever role he inhabits next will be informed by the lessons learned, carried forward with intention, humility, and care. The early months of the new year arrive without ceremony, slipping into Roger's life like a quiet understudy who suddenly finds himself unstaged, and this understated arrival feels appropriate, because Roch has grown wary of dramatic thresholds, preferring instead the slow accrual of meaning that reveals itself only through attention. And as January settles in, he notices how his internal rhythms have subtly changed, mornings no longer burdened by the urgency to prove usefulness, evenings less haunted by the sense of unfinished becoming. And this does not mean uncertainty has vanished, but rather that it has lost its sharp edges, becoming a familiar companion instead of an adversary. And this shift becomes evident when Roch begins rehearsals for the modest project he accepted toward the end of the previous year, because while the role itself is limited, the environment is charged with a kind of quiet intensity, a group of professionals working efficiently, without grandiosity, and Roch feels himself slotting into the ensemble with an ease that surprises him, as if the cumulative work of the past year has recalibrated his relationship to collaboration, and he listens more than he speaks, observes before intervening, and when he does offer something, it emerges not from the need to assert value but from genuine responsiveness, and this difference is not lost on him, because he remembers earlier experiences marked by overcompensation, by the subtle anxiety that drove him to be visible at all costs, and now, he experiences visibility as something that arises naturally when alignment is present, and this realization brings with it a sense of relief, as though a long-held tension has finally been released. And outside of rehearsals, Roch continues facilitating occasional workshops, having discovered that this role complements his creative work rather than detracting from it, and he refines his approach, emphasizing process over product, encouraging participants to notice their own habits of attention, and he finds satisfaction in witnessing small shifts, a participant standing a little more comfortably, another speaking with less apology, and these moments, though modest, reinforce Roger's belief in the transformative potential of presence, and this belief begins to inform not just his professional engagements but his everyday interactions, from casual conversations with neighbors to more intentional dialogues with friends, and in these exchanges, Roch practices a kind of gentle honesty, naming his experience without insisting on agreement, and this practice fosters a sense of integrity that feels both grounding and liberating. And as winter loosens its grip and hints of spring begin to surface, Roch becomes aware of a renewed energy, a desire to initiate rather than merely respond, and this impulse manifests creatively, as he begins sketching ideas for a project of his own, something small in scale but personally resonant, and he approaches this endeavor cautiously, mindful of past patterns of overcommitment, and instead of rushing to define the project fully, he allows it to remain fluid, exploring themes through writing, movement, and conversation, and this exploratory phase feels nourishing, free from the pressure of immediate realization, and Roch recognizes this as another marker of change, his growing capacity to dwell in the generative unknown without rushing toward form, and concurrently, Roch revisits his relationship with ambition, examining how it has been shaped by external expectations and internalized narratives of success, and he notices that while ambition has not disappeared, it has been reoriented, shifting from a focus on recognition to an emphasis on resonance, and this reorientation affects his decision-making, leading him to decline certain opportunities that, while prestigious, do not align with his current values. And though this choice occasionally triggers doubt, Roch finds that the discomfort is manageable, outweighed by the sense of coherence that follows, and this coherence extends to his financial considerations as well, as he adopts a more pragmatic approach to sustainability, balancing creative pursuits with practical needs without framing the latter as compromise, and this balanced perspective alleviates a long-standing internal conflict, allowing Roch to view his life as an integrated whole rather than a series of competing priorities, and as spring arrives in earnest, bringing longer days and renewed social activity, Roch navigates invitations and engagements with discernment, choosing depth over breadth, and this selective approach enhances the quality of his interactions, enabling more meaningful connections, and one such connection deepens unexpectedly, as Roch finds himself spending more time with someone he met through the workshop series, a person whose curiosity and openness mirror his own, and their conversations range from the mundane to the philosophical, unfolding without urgency, and Roch is conscious of the familiar stirrings of attachment, yet he approaches them with awareness, attentive to his own patterns, and he allows the relationship to develop organically, without projecting outcomes, and this measured approach feels both novel and reassuring, suggesting a maturation in how he engages with intimacy, and professionally, the project he has been rehearsing reaches completion, and the experience of performance, while brief, is marked by a sense of ease, Roch stepping into the role with clarity and stepping out without residual attachment, and this fluidity contrasts sharply with earlier performances that lingered emotionally, and Roch interprets this not as detachment but as healthy integration, an ability to inhabit and release experiences without clinging, and after the project concludes, he receives positive feedback, yet he notices how its impact on his self-concept is muted, appreciated but not inflated, and this moderation reinforces his trust in his evolving internal compass, and as the months progress, Roch continues to develop his personal project, gradually shaping it into something shareable, and he seeks feedback from a small circle of trusted peers, valuing their perspectives without deferring to them, and this collaborative refinement process highlights his ability to remain grounded amid differing opinions, and Roch recognizes this as another fruit of his practice, the capacity to engage without losing center. And during this period, he also reconnects with family in quieter ways, brief calls, shared meals, interactions stripped of expectation, and while not all tensions dissolve, there is a noticeable softening, a mutual acceptance of difference that reduces friction, and Roch feels grateful for this incremental easing, understanding that transformation in relational systems often occurs gradually, through consistent shifts rather than dramatic interventions, and as late spring approaches, Roch reflects on the trajectory of the past year and a half, noting how an initial impulse to audition for a play has unfolded into a sustained reconfiguration of his life, and this reflection does not inspire grand conclusions but a sense of humility, an awareness of how change often emerges through accumulation rather than revelation, and this awareness informs his outlook as he contemplates the coming months, which remain undefined yet inviting, and Roch resists the temptation to frame the future as a problem to be solved, choosing instead to meet it as a field of practice. An ongoing invitation to apply what he has learned, and in this stance, he feels neither complacent nor restless, but engaged, ready to continue the work of attention that has become central to his way of being, and as he moves through his days, he carries with him a quiet confidence, not in specific outcomes but in his capacity to respond with integrity, and this confidence, grounded in lived experience, sustains him as he stands once again on the cusp of transition, aware that the story is still unfolding, its next act unwritten, yet guided by the practices that have brought him this far, and as he listens for the next cue, Rog remains present, open, and attentive, trusting that the discipline he has cultivated will support whatever role he is asked to play next. By the time summer begins to assert itself, not with sudden heat but with a gradual loosening of the air, Rog notices that his sense of time has subtly recalibrated. Days no longer experienced as units to be filled or optimized but as textures to be inhabited, and this change is most apparent in the mornings, when he wakes without the familiar impulse to immediately orient himself toward obligation, instead allowing a few moments of stillness in which awareness arrives before intention, and in this small pause he often reflects, not analytically but intuitively, sensing where he is in relation to himself, and this practice, once deliberate, has become almost automatic, a quiet baseline from which action emerges, and as the season unfolds, Rog continues to develop the personal project that has been taking shape in fragments, gradually recognizing that its form matters less than its function, which is to provide a container for exploration rather than a vehicle for display, and this recognition frees him from the pressure to finalize, allowing the work to remain porous, responsive to experience, and he shares parts of it informally, in small gatherings, not framed as performances but as invitations to witness, and the responses he receives are varied yet thoughtful, some resonating deeply, others engaging more cautiously, and Rog receives them all without the urge to categorize or evaluate, understanding that reception reflects as much about the listener's readiness as the material itself, and this equanimity feels earned, the result of sustained practice rather than deliberate detachment, and as he continues facilitating workshops, Rog notices how his language has evolved, becoming simpler, less explanatory, more experiential, and participants respond to this shift, often commenting on the relief of not being instructed toward a goal, and these comments affirm Rogers' intuition that much of what people seek is not improvement but permission, and this insight deepens his commitment to creating spaces where attention is valued over achievement, and outside of these structured contexts, Rogers' social life continues to balance intimacy and solitude, and he finds satisfaction in this balance, recognizing that his earlier oscillation between isolation and overengagement has softened into a more responsive rhythm, and relationships that endure do so without effortful maintenance, sustained instead by mutual curiosity and respect, and one such relationship deepens further, not through dramatic declaration but through accumulated moments of presence, shared walks, unhurried conversations, and comfortable silences, and Rog observes himself engaging without self-monitoring, a sign that trust has taken root, and this is contrast with past experiences marked by anticipatory anxiety, and he recognizes that his growing capacity for relational stability mirrors his internal grounding, each reinforcing the other, and professionally, opportunities continue to arise sporadically, some aligned, others less so, and Rog approaches them with discernment, guided by his now well-articulated principles, and he declines without guilt, accepts without overinvestment, and this measured engagement allows him to remain available without being consumed, and during this period, he revisits the memory of the original play that set so much in motion, not nostalgically but reflectively, recognizing how distant it now feels, not because its impact has faded but because it has been integrated, absorbed into his way of being, and this integration allows him to speak of it without charge, to acknowledge its role without clinging to its significance, and this ability to hold formative experiences lightly feels like a marker of maturation, and as summer deepens, bringing with it both energy and lethargy, Rog adjusts his pace accordingly, honoring the body's signals, resting when needed, engaging when inspired, and this attunement prevents the burnout that once seemed inevitable, and he becomes increasingly aware of how much of his earlier exhaustion stemmed not from workload but from misalignment, from pursuing paths incongruent with his values, and this awareness reinforces his commitment to coherence, even when it requires difficult choices, and as the months progress, Rog begins to articulate his experiences in writing again, not as a record but as a form of inquiry, and these writings circle familiar themes: presence, identity, community, yet each iteration feels fresh, informed by lived experience rather than abstraction, and he considers sharing them more broadly, not out of ambition but out of a sense of reciprocity, recognizing that his journey, while personal, resonates with broader questions about how to live attentively in a distracted world, and this consideration does not yet crystallize into action, but it lingers as a possibility, held without urgency, and as the year approaches another turning point, Roach engages in a familiar ritual of reflection, not marking anniversaries but noticing shifts, and he observes how his relationship to fear has changed, fear no longer functioning as a stop sign but as information, a signal inviting inquiry rather than avoidance, and this reframing allows him to approach new situations with curiosity rather than defensiveness, and he applies this approach to unresolved areas of his life, conversations postponed, decisions deferred, and while not all are resolved, each is engaged with honesty, reducing their latent power, and this engagement contributes to a sense of internal spaciousness, an ability to hold complexity without collapse, and as Roach looks outward, he becomes more attuned to the broader social context, noticing how many people around him are grappling with similar questions of meaning and direction, and he recognizes that his work, whether through performance, facilitation, or simple presence, participates in a collective effort to reclaim attention, and this recognition imbues his actions with a quiet sense of purpose, not grandiose, but steady, and he becomes more comfortable occupying this role, not as an expert but as a fellow traveler, and this humility allows him to remain open to learning, to being changed by encounters rather than seeking to shape them, and in moments of doubt, which still arise, Roach returns to his foundational practices: breath, movement, reflection, and these anchors remind him that stability is not the absence of fluctuation but the capacity to return, and this understanding sustains him through periods of uncertainty, and as he stands at what feels like another threshold, though less dramatic than those of the past, Roach reflects on how his life has become less about defining himself and more about inhabiting himself, and this shift feels profound, altering how he approaches work, relationships, and self-understanding, and he recognizes that the metaphor of the play, once centered on performance and audience, has expanded to encompass participation, responsiveness, and co-creation, and this expanded metaphor feels more accurate, capturing the fluidity and interdependence of lived experience, and as Roach moves forward, he does so without a script, yet with trust in his capacity to respond, and this trust, cultivated through years of practice, provides a sense of quiet assurance, and while he knows challenges will arise, as they always do, he feels equipped to meet them with presence rather than resistance, and in this readiness, he finds a form of freedom, not freedom from constraint but freedom within engagement, and as the days continue, unremarkable yet rich, Roach remains attentive, aware that meaning is not something to be extracted from experience but something that emerges through sustained attention, and with this awareness, he continues, open to what unfolds, grounded in practice, and receptive to the ongoing play of life, trusting that whatever comes next will be met with the same care, curiosity, and integrity that have guided him thus far.